Chapter 1300. Tan Xiao nodded and said, I've long heard that Mushroom Castle is rich in poisonous mushrooms, among which the 5-colored and 7-colored ones are the most poisonous ones. If I can buy these 2 kinds of poisonous mushrooms by chance, I'll be able to refine a poisonous pill, which will play a great role in our safety in the future. You're also proficient in refining poisonous pills, Your Majesty? Asked Star Tears in surprise. I'm naturally proficient in things that can save my life and even kill my enemies, said Tan Xiao with a faint smile. Star Tears couldn't help but roll her eyes secretly. Despite having a firm mind, she was still speechless toward Tan Xiao. She had never seen anyone who was so afraid of death. No matter what the situation was, he always put safety as the first priority. He was afraid that he would be killed if he lacked the means to save his life. A top-grade great emperor. Star Tears inwardly gave Tan Xiao a definition. Mushroom Castle. It was a mushroom-shaped city. This city couldn't be compared to the large cities Tan Xiao had encountered before, but there were hundreds of millions of races living here. The sky was filled with cultivators riding their flying swords, immortals with powerful auras, various races, and all kinds of life forms in the immortal world. The closer they got to Mushroom Castle, the more cultivators they encountered. However, the cultivators who could survive in the immortal world all had a keen eyesight. Countless people had seen the golden chariot Tan Xiao's group of 4, and realized that they were very powerful. After all, just the cloud-piercing beasts emitting a soft white light seemed to be immortal-grade immortal beasts. Soon Tan Xiao's group of 4 was only 1,000 miles away from the gate of Mushroom Castle. In order to not attract attention after entering the city, the 4 got off the golden chariot and directly stored the golden chariot and the cloud-piercing beasts into the small heavenly abode artifact refined by Tan Xiao and then flew into Mushroom Castle. Come to think of it, it's been thousands of years since I've been here, right? Tan Xiao couldn't help but sigh as he observed the small mushroom-shaped buildings around. Thousands of years? Star Tears could not help but curl her lips and give Tan Xiao a disdainful look. She didn't believe that a cultivator, who was at most comparable to an ordinary immortal, could live for thousands of years. Inside the city, countless hawking voices rang out incessantly. All sorts of shops and stalls were using all sorts of methods to attract customers. Fantasy Pagoda. The large shops in the Mushroom Castle looked especially grand just from the outside. Outside the other shops, there were countless shop assistants trying to attract customers. However, outside the gate of the Dream Restaurant, there were only 4 majestic men coldly watching the passers-by and guarding the entrance. This is it. Tan Xiao had been here before, but there was no fantasy house here. Therefore, it was obvious that this illusory pagoda was not an established shop. However, to be able to occupy such a huge shop in the Mushroom Castle, it meant that their family's strength was definitely very strong. They entered the interior. Immediately, a wide open space appeared in front of Xiao Chun. There were many poisonous mushrooms in the huge space, but judging from their quality, they were all ordinary poisonous mushrooms. In addition, there were also some other goods besides the poisonous mushrooms, but their quality was very mediocre. Welcome, distinguished guests. May I know what you need? A delicate and pretty shop assistant in a white dress greeted them, and asked with a professional fake smile. I need to buy some poisonous mushrooms, at least 5-colored ones, said Tan Xiao. If your fantasy house has them and the price is affordable, I'll buy them. If not, I'll leave disappointed. 5-colored poisonous mushrooms? At least? The shop assistant's expression shifted, and she observed Tan Xiao's group of 4 again. She then nodded and said, Please follow me to the 6th floor. Our fantasy house's treasures are all placed on the 6th floor. However, all of you must be mentally prepared, because every single item on the 6th floor is extremely expensive. Expensive or not, it's your business, said Tan Xiao calmly. Whether it's worth it or not is my opinion. If you really have good stuff, I'll be happy to buy it even if I have to spend more money. The shop assistant in a white dress faintly smiled, and led the 4 to the 6th floor. An empty hall suddenly appeared in front of everyone. There were a total of 108 booths in the hall, each with an item on it. Kong Dong, I saw this Octogem's Golden Lotus Pagoda first, so I'll never give it to you. Don't think that your vast martial sect is so powerful. If you provoke me, I'll just kill you and leave." An old man with long white hair and a walking stick glared at one of the 5 people in front of him and fiercely shouted. The leader of the 5 people had a hooked nose and triangular eyes, looking very mean. At this moment he gloomily looked at the old man and coldly said, "I'm afraid the vast martial sect's powerhouses will arrive before you can kill me. Old geezer, this Octogem's Golden Lotus Pagoda is an immortal artifact that can only be fully controlled by a golden immortal. You're just a celestial immortal, yet you want to take it for yourself? I can't keep it." The old man angrily shouted. "I'll naturally be able to use it when I break through to the golden immortal stage one day. This Octogem's Golden Lotus Pagoda is a treasure that can only be found by chance." Kong Dong clenched his fists and directly sent a message token under the old man's fierce eyes. Then he proudly said, "I'll let you be arrogant now, but I'll make you kneel and beg for mercy when the powerhouses of my sect arrive." The old man's expression changed, and he hesitated for a moment. He then turned to look at the silent shop assistant and said in a deep voice, "It's a rule in the immortal world that when a treasure is fancied by many people, the highest bidder will obtain it, right?" The shop assistant nodded and said, "That's right. Do you want to bid for it?" "That's right. We want to bid for it," said the old man resolutely. "The price of this Octogem's Golden Lotus Pagoda is 2 million immortal crystals. I'm willing to bid 1 million immortal crystals for it." "You dare to compete with me in wealth, old geezer?" Kong Dong angrily yelled. "Buddy, I'm willing to buy this Octogem's Golden Lotus Pagoda for 3 million immortal crystals." The old man slightly furrowed his brows and coldly said, "For million immortal crystals? 5 million, shouted Kong Dong. The old man's brows furrowed deeper. After being silent for a long while he slowly said, 5 million immortal crystals. That's all the immortal crystals I can take out. If you can offer a higher price, I can give this Octogem's Golden Lotus Pagoda to you." Kong Dong's face turned black. He was very rich, and the elders of the vast martial sect usually gave him a lot of immortal crystals. But the number of immortal crystals he had was only about 6 million. If he were to take out so many immortal crystals to buy an immortal artifact all at once, it would make him very poor for the next 100 years. However, he would lose face in front of this old bastard if he couldn't take it out. Once today's matter was spread out, he wouldn't be able to raise his head for many years. 6 million immortal crystals. Kong Dong gritted his teeth and shouted sternly. A bitter look appeared on the old man's face. He shook his head and turned around to leave. 6 million immortal crystals. Tan Xiao, who was not far away, let out a faint smile and went straight to the front of the crowd. The old man, who was just about to leave, suddenly had a change in expression. He immediately held back the thought of leaving and looked at Tan Xiao in surprise. Tan Xiao looked at the shop assistant and smilingly said, "In front of a treasure, the highest bidder gets it. Am I right?" "You're right," said the shop assistant with a smile. Tan Xiao looked at Kong Dong and asked, "Do you still want to continue bidding? If you don't, this Octogem's Golden Lotus Pagoda will be mine. If you continue bidding, maybe I'll continue to increase the price." Never in his wildest dreams did Kong Dong expect that someone would intercept him halfway. He fiercely glared at Tan Xiao and angrily shouted, "Where the hell did you come from, you bastard? You actually have the qualifications to compete with me? Are you tired of living?" "Pa!" Tan Xiao moved lightning fast and slapped him in the face, sending him flying tens of meters away and heavily hitting the ice-cold ground. He then sneered and said, "How dare you be so arrogant and domineering in front of me? You're the first person who dares to insult my people, especially to my face, and you're the first person to not die. Damn. How dare you hit the people of our vast martial sect? Are you tired of living?" An Earth Immortal expert of the vast martial sect angrily shouted, and was about to attack. The other 3 people around him also unleashed their immortal swords, ready to go all out. "I didn't kill you just now to give face to the shop owner," Tan Xiao sneered. "Since you're courting death, then I'll fulfill your wish." As his voice faded away, a stream of light instantly passed through the 4 people, and directly killed them while they were unable to dodge or block it. It was Battlepung who attacked. The shop assistant wanted to stop him, but it was too late. He could only watch helplessly as the 4 people were killed. He hurriedly shouted, "You're not allowed to kill people in our shop." Battlepung didn't stop after killing the 4 people in an instant. Instead, he beheaded Kong Dong and punched him into minced meat. Only then did he say with satisfaction, "My master gave you face and only slapped them. But since they were courting death, we had no choice but to be impolite." The shop assistant was furious. Tan Xiao shot him a cold look and said overbearingly, "What about us? What's the big deal about killing them? Aren't they just some ants? Why bother with such trivial matters? Besides, your Phantasmagoria Pagoda has opened its doors to do business. It's easy to get into trouble if you meddle too much. It's better to just keep your mouth shut and deal with me directly." Whoosh! A figure flickered and instantly appeared in front of everyone. It was a middle-aged man with a scholarly aura and a fan in his hand. He looked at the 5 corpses on the ground and indifferently said, "What you said does make sense, sir. But the rules of my Phantasmagoria Pagoda must not be broken. We can't just ignore you unless you can show us the strength to deter us. I can kill you within 2 breaths. Do you believe me?" Battlepung sneered. The middle-aged man was also a golden immortal. His expression slightly changed upon sensing the aura Battlepung instantly released. He lightly smiled and said, "If you only have 1 golden immortal, I'm afraid it's not enough to deter our Phantasmagoria Pagoda. It's the last day. I'm begging for the monthly votes. Quiet Night will add a chapter for every 100 monthly votes increase. How many chapters will be released today depends on the brothers and sisters _. Chapter 1301. Star Tears stood beside Tan Xiao and her aura flashed away, but the middle-aged man's body stiffened and a horrified look appeared in his eyes. His attitude suddenly took a 180-degree turn. "Please forgive me for offending you, senior." The middle-aged man was perturbed and his attitude became particularly respectful. After all, a golden immortal was already a very powerful expert, and there were only a few perfected golden immortals in the immortal domain. Even the strongest expert in this agate castle seemed to be a late-stage golden immortal. Star Tears almost didn't feel like paying attention to the man in front of her. She maintained her composure and quietly stood beside Tan Xiao. 6 million immortal crystals, right? Asked Tan Xiao indifferently. 2 million immortal crystals and this 8 treasures golden lotus pagoda is yours, said the middle-aged man hurriedly. I don't think anyone will dare to object to this price. The pale and timid old man hurriedly nodded and said, I dare not. Only this senior is qualified to use such a treasure. Tan Xiao let out a faint smile and took out 2 million immortal crystals and threw it to the middle-aged man. Then he said, I need to buy a 5-colored toadstool or a 7-colored toadstool. Since your clerk took me to the 6th floor, you should have them for sale here, right? Our store does have a 5-colored toadstool, said the middle-aged man respectfully. It just happened to be delivered here 2 days ago. However, we don't have any 7-colored toadstool here. If you really need it, I'm afraid you'll have to wait here for some time. We've spent more than a decade to set up this trap, and we're about to close the net soon. At that time, a 7-colored toadstool will be delivered here. How long will you have to wait? Asked Tan Xiao. It'll take 3 months if there are no accidents during the delivery, answered the middle-aged man. Tan Xiao slowly nodded and said, Sell me the 5-colored toadstool first, and I'll pay 100,000 immortal crystals as a deposit. After that, I will pay 100,000 immortal crystals as a deposit. 3 months later, I will personally return here to purchase the rainbow toadstool. The middle-aged man hesitated for a moment and said, The 5-colored toadstool is very expensive, and the 7-colored toadstool is even more expensive. Will you really buy it? What's the price of these 2 toadstool? Asked Tan Xiao. The middle-aged man said, The 5-colored toadstool requires 1 million immortal crystals, and the 7-colored toadstool requires 8 million immortal crystals. Tan Xiao directly handed him 2 million immortal crystals and lightly said, I'll give you 1 million immortal crystals as a deposit. As for the remaining 7 million immortal crystals, I'll pay you directly after I see the rainbow toadstool. After all, this small amount of money is nothing to me. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up and he immediately smiled in satisfaction. Esteemed guest, please rest assured. If the 7-colored toadstool arrives, I will definitely keep it for you. Very soon. Tan Xiu took the fist-sized multicolored toadstool. Looking at the beautiful color of its body, he was secretly satisfied. Even the 5-colored toadstool could be refined into a very good poison pill. If he could get the 7-colored toadstool and refine the poison pill, perhaps even a perfected golden immortal would be greatly injured. Let's go. Tan Xiu led the group to leave the fantasy pagoda. Just as they walked for a kilometer on the crowded street, Tan Xiu's expression moved, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. He turned his head and said, I'll wait for you at the tea house in front. Bring him to see me. Understood. Battle Peng slightly nodded and quickly rushed toward the old man following behind. A few minutes later, when the fragrant tea was just delivered to Tan Xiu, the old man followed behind Battle Peng and entered the tea house. He looked a bit hesitant and vigilant when he looked at Tan Xiu's group. Speak. Tan Xiu took a sip of the fragrant tea and looked up at the old man. The old man took a deep breath and said in a low voice, I wonder if Senior has 1 million crystal essences? 1 million crystal essences is just a small amount for me. Tan Xiu raised his brows. I can take it out at any time. The old man rejoiced inwardly and asked again, Have you heard of the Soul Pursuit token, Senior? Tan Xiu's expression changed and he nodded. There are 9 Soul Pursuit tokens in the entire immortal world belonging to Battle Soul Supreme. 6 of them have appeared in the past. Every holder of the Soul Pursuit token can send a request to Battle Soul Supreme. No matter what it is, Battle Soul Supreme can personally handle it. You're wrong, sir. The old man respectfully said, There have actually been 7 Soul Pursuit tokens. 260 years ago, Battle Soul Supreme got the Soul Pursuit token and chased Azure Snake Supreme for 100 years before finally killing him in the desolate ruins. Hence, there are still 2 Soul Pursuit tokens left in the outside world. Tan Xiu narrowed his eyes and lightly asked, Do you have the Soul Pursuit token? The old man shook his head. I don't have the Soul Pursuit token, but I have the information about it. If Senior is willing to pay me 1 million crystal essences, I can tell you the information about the Soul Pursuit token. I can guarantee that the information about the Soul Pursuit token is absolutely reliable, and it won't be difficult to obtain it. What I want to know is, how many times have you sold the information about the Soul Pursuit token? Asked Tan Xiu lightly. It's the first time for you. The old man shook his head. Tell me about it. Tan Xiu nodded. I can pay 1 million crystal essences if the information you provided is true. But let's put it bluntly first. I can only give you 500,000 crystal essences before I get the Soul Pursuit token. I'll pay you the remaining 500,000 crystal essences after I get the Soul Pursuit token. No problem. The old man looked excited and replied with a voice transmission. The Soul Pursuit token is in the vast martial sect's consecration hall, guarded by the sect's only perfected golden immortal and 18 golden immortals. How do you know that? Asked Tan Xiu with a frown. A look of hatred appeared in the old man's eyes. He clenched his fists and said with a murderous expression, The woman I love deeply is the daughter of the vast martial sect's vice sect master. Since I have no background and my cultivation aptitude is not very strong, I was finally separated from my beloved. She died under the vast martial sect's coercion. I hate myself for not having the ability to do so, else I would have slaughtered the entire vast martial sect. Tan Xiu nodded and said, I'm sorry for making you think of such unpleasant things. Here are 500,000 crystal essences. I'll contact you personally after I get the Soul Pursuit token and compensate you with the remaining 500,000 crystal essences. But if you lie to me, you'll be hunted down endlessly even if you flee to any corner of the immortal crystal world. The old man accepted the 500,000 crystal essences and firmly said, Senior, you can place a restriction on me first if you don't trust me. I know many powerful experts who have such tracking restrictions. Tan Xiu faintly smiled. He got up and came to the front of the old man. He gently patted his shoulder and asked for his message token before he turned around and left. You've placed a restriction on me? The old man's expression shifted as he watched Tan Xiu's group leave with a complicated expression. He didn't even notice how Tan Xiu placed a restriction on him. Outside Agarit Castle, Tan Xiu's eyes flickered, but he didn't plan to go to the vast martial sect immediately. After all, the other party had a perfected golden immortal. Whoosh! Tan Xiu sent out a message token, and then hurried on with Battle Peng's group of 3. Sacred Dragon Immortal Domain. The Immortal World's central immortal domain was definitely ranked in the top 10 among all the large immortal domains in the entire immortal world. Golden immortals could be found everywhere here, and perfected golden immortals could often be seen. Occasionally, the figures of supremes would also appear. Convict Arena. The headquarters was set up in the Sacred Dragon Immortal Domain, and was named Convict City, South City of Convict City. In a dilapidated courtyard, Old Sycamore was lying on a recliner, comfortably burping and humming a tune. A unicorn wolf was curled up at his feet, looking listless. Ding ding! The silver bell at the door suddenly rang, and a teenage girl with a ponytail appeared in the courtyard like a gust of wind. She giggled and called out, "Grandpa Wutong, there's a guest at the door." Old Sycamore rolled his eyes and grunted. "This old man went out to kill some kittens and puppies a few days ago, so I moved my body too violently and now I'm aching all over. Tell your mother to receive the guests. Alas, getting old really isn't fun. Just moving a few times makes my back ache and legs cramp." The girl appeared at Old Sycamore's side with a beaming smile. She stretched out her hand and twisted his ear, grinning. "My mother has gone to be a guide for other guests. Only the 2 of us are left in the house now. Do you want me to be a guide for others?" Old Sycamore shuddered and shook the girl's hand away. No, no, no. I'll go instead. You've been a guide for others, and when have you not caused a lot of trouble? Forget it, I'll go myself. Strange, isn't there a guest coming? How come I don't see any of them? The girl pursed her lips and grunted. That guy is really arrogant. He said something like, "Let Old Sycamore come out to greet him personally." He's really arrogant. I originally wanted to pour a bucket of cold water on him, but who would have thought that he would have such powerful people around him? I'm a bit afraid of 2 of them. A glint flashed in Old Sycamore's eyes. Then he slowly stood up and walked toward the door while dragging his body, saying, "Those who can make me personally greet them are all old customers, you know? But you're not afraid of perfected golden immortals, lass, yet 2 people who can make you afraid appear at the same time. This is really interesting." The girl rolled her eyes and then followed him with a grin. Outside the courtyard, Old Sycamore's eyes instantly narrowed when he saw the 4 people. His gaze paused on Star Tears for a moment before he turned to Tan Xiu, who was obviously their leader. He smilingly asked, "Honored guest, you look very unfamiliar, but you actually know me, Old Sycamore. May I know which lord recommended you to come to me?" A complicated look flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes as he lightly smiled and said, "There was once a little beggar who mentioned the little sycamore of Prison City. But I never thought that the former little sycamore would become the old sycamore now." A little beggar? Old Sycamore's body trembled, and a sharp glint burst out from his eyes. His stooped body straightened in an instant, and a huge aura surged around him as he shouted in a deep voice, "Who exactly are you, mister? How do you know him?" Chapter 1302. "You can call me Great Tang Heavenly Emperor," said Tan Xiu calmly. "As for how I know him, it's inconvenient for me to tell you. Old Sycamore, I need to handle some matters in Prison City, so you'll be my guide. I'll reward you handsomely if you perform well." Old Sycamore stared at Tan Xiu for a full quarter of an hour before he took a deep breath. His body returned to its stooped state, and he restrained his aura. Little beggar. His younger brother. He was once a rising star in the immortal world, and was the focus of countless powerhouses. On the other hand, he was the disciple of Star Cultivation Great Emperor. It had been more than 5,000 years. Those who knew that he was the little beggar's big brother definitely had a good relationship with his younger brother. But those people were probably all dead now, right? "I'll be your guide." Old Sycamore retracted his gaze and waved his hand at the little girl beside him. Then he said in a deep voice, "You must stay at home while I'm gone. If I find out that you sneak out, you'll be grounded for 100 years." The little girl hesitated for a moment and immediately became listless. She muttered a few words of dissatisfaction, and then staggered back to the courtyard's entrance before slamming it shut. Old Sycamore looked at Tan Xiao and asked, "Where would you like to go, honored guest? There's no place or matter in Prison City that I don't know." Tan Xiao glanced at him and turned to walk toward the convict arena's main hall. He then lightly said, "Don't boast. Even if you've lived here for thousands of years, there are still many things you don't know." Old Sycamore smiled and asked, "For example? For example, do you know who the master behind the scenes of the convict arena is?" Tan Xiao said. "This." Old Sycamore was speechless and awkwardly turned his face to the side. Tan Xiao smiled indifferently and looked at Dragonfly, asking, "Little guy, what's his cultivation level?" "He's very strong, master. He's at least a perfected golden immortal, even more powerful than Lady Star Tears," said Dragonfly. "By the way, he's injured, but it's not too serious." Old Sycamore halted his steps and stared dumbfoundedly at Tan Xiao and Dragonfly's backs with an incredulous look in his eyes. There were no more than 3 people in the entire immortal world who knew that he was a perfected golden immortal, and this included himself. But how did he know? Just who were they? Old Sycamore faintly felt that he had no secrets to speak of in front of these people. This realization caused the string in his heart to tighten. After catching up with Tan Xiao, he asked, "Honorable guests, I still don't know what you want to buy. Or do you want to go somewhere?" Tan Xiao said, "Let's go to the prison of the perfected golden immortal level." Old Sycamore furrowed his brows and said, "Honored guest, are you preparing to gamble?" Or, Tan Xiao said, "By a perfected golden immortal." Old Sycamore's pupils shrunk. He immediately realized that Tan Xiao was a big shot with great financial resources. After thinking for a while, he said, "If you want to buy a perfected golden immortal, you don't need to go directly to the prison. I know a place that sells perfected golden immortal powerhouses. There are only about 60 perfected golden immortal deathmatch gladiators in the entire prison city, and all of them have been registered and their identities are known by countless people. But the place I'm talking about has a confidential identity, and the number is not that many. Lead the way." After saying that, Tan Xiao asked, "How many of them are there? How strong are they? What's their background?" "No more than 10 of them, and all of them are very strong. They're not inferior to the deathmatch gladiators in the prison, said Old Sycamore. "They're all from different races, overlords of some remote immortal domains. The convict arena has a mysterious team that expands its territory in remote immortal domains, hunting or capturing golden immortals and perfected golden immortals to sell, and increase the number of deathmatch gladiators in the convict arena." Tan Xiao slightly nodded. He had heard of these things before, but he didn't pay much attention to it before. He thought that the convict arena was just a small fry. But now, he was keenly aware that the convict arena was very terrifying. It could be ranked in the top 10 even among the major forces in the immortal world. Deathmatch Gate. The place Old Sycamore mentioned. After everyone entered the unremarkable building, a charming and beautiful woman came to greet them and said with a beaming smile, "Old Sycamore, have you brought a customer here to buy something again?" "Yeah," said Old Sycamore with a smile. "You know the rules, so take them inside." The beautiful woman smiled. "You'll have to bear the responsibility if anything goes wrong." "I understand." Old Sycamore nodded with a smile and led the 4 people inside. The dark corridor was a few kilometers long. After the 5 people entered, they found that it was a completely different world. It turned out to be a heavenly abode artifact. The space inside was huge, more than 100 times larger than it looked from the outside. Old Sycamore smiled and said, "Honored guest, let's go straight ahead. We'll find the place where the deathmatch gladiators are sold. Go to the left passage and you'll find the place that sells immortal arts, divine abilities, and secret arts. Go to the right passage and you'll find the place that sells all kinds of weapons." Tan Xiao's expression shifted and he asked, "Let's go to the place that sells weapons." Old Sycamore faintly smiled and led Tan Xiao through a kilometer passage and into a vast hall. Countless weapons were arranged in an orderly manner inside, and each weapon's advantages, disadvantages, and even grade were clearly marked. Defensive immortal artifacts. After going deeper, Tan Xiu quickly found the place where all kinds of defensive immortal artifacts were sold. The dazzling array of items dazzled the eyes. Immortal artifacts were divided into 9 grades. The first and second grades were suitable for ordinary immortals, the third grade was suitable for earth immortals, the fourth grade was suitable for celestial immortals, the fifth grade was suitable for profound immortals, the sixth grade was suitable for golden immortals, the seventh grade was suitable for perfected golden immortals, and the eighth grade was suitable for supremes. Ninth grade immortal artifacts. Unless one was a top-notch supremacy, they wouldn't be able to unleash their full power. Tan Xiu found the place where the 7th grade immortal artifacts were marked according to the labels and said, Battle Pung, Star Tiers, each of you pick a defensive immortal artifact. Understood. The two were slightly shaken, but they still quickly picked a defensive immortal artifact that satisfied them. Tan Xiu calmly looked at the remaining 18 defensive immortal artifacts, and couldn't help but shake his head inwardly. Each of these 18 defensive immortal artifacts could withstand a full-powered blow from a late-stage perfected golden immortal, without being destroyed. But they would still break under continuous attacks. Old Sycamore, there should be a 9th grade immortal artifact here, right? Yes, there are only 3 9th grade defensive immortal artifacts, said Old Sycamore. They are all in the array, and each of them is extremely expensive. Even a perfected golden immortal wouldn't be able to buy one of them with all his wealth. Take me there, said Tan Xiu. Old Sycamore walked 100 steps inside, and stopped in a corner. He casually made a seal and 3 transparent lights suddenly appeared with 3 items inside. Myriad-toed golden armor. Heavenly soul sphere. 9 thunder treasure robe. Tan Xiu calmly looked at the 3 9th grade immortal artifacts and turned to look at Old Sycamore. Notify the person in charge here, and tell him to come see me. Understood. Old Sycamore left for less than a quarter of an hour before he returned with the charming and beautiful woman. Have you picked your items, honored guest? The beautiful woman looked at the 3 grade, 9 defensive celestial artifacts, and a strange look flashed across her eyes as she asked with a smile. Tan Xiu nodded and said, There are 3 defensive immortal artifacts in total, 2 of which are 8th grade and this 9 thunder treasure robe. How much is it? The beautiful woman smiled and said, This 9 thunder treasure robe costs 20 million crystal essences. 2 8th grade defensive immortal artifacts cost 12 million crystal essences in total. That's a total of 32 million crystal essences. Old Sycamore said that you have a deep relationship with him, so he's giving you a discount of 2 million crystal essences, making it 30 million crystal essences in total. Tan Xiu took out 30 million crystal essences and handed it to the beautiful woman. Thank you. The beautiful woman shook her head and smiled. If you want to thank someone, thank Old Sycamore. Everyone, do you need anything else? I need to buy perfected golden immortal gladiators, said Tan Xiu. 6. The beautiful woman stared blankly and her expression slightly changed. She just thought that Tan Xiu was just an ordinary immortal. She didn't expect him to have such terrifying wealth. Please follow me. The beautiful woman shot a deep look at Tan Xiu before turning around and walking away. In another space, when everyone arrived, Tan Xiu saw thousands of iron cages placed on both sides, each separated by a kilometer. From ordinary cultivators to golden immortal gladiators, there were people of every level. The beautiful woman led everyone to the innermost area and struck out a seal. Suddenly, a whirlpool portal appeared in front of everyone. After entering, they saw 9 iron cages forming a circular formation, and in each iron cage was a perfected golden immortal gladiator. This price. Tan Xiu's expression slightly changed as his spiritual sense swept the price tag on the iron cages. Because even the cheapest golden immortal realm gladiator required 12 million immortal crystals, whereas a woman with disheveled blue hair that sat cross-legged on the ground required an entire 21 million immortal crystals. Tan Xiu looked at the beautiful woman and asked, Is there a discount? The beautiful woman shook her head and smiled. I'm sorry, but this is the lowest price. If you really want to buy 6 perfected golden immortal gladiators, I'll give you a discount. Tan Xiu smiled bitterly to himself. Adding up all the immortal stones, immortal crystals, and crystal essences he had, he was only left with a little over 60 million crystal essences. Some of them were obtained from the spatial rings of the 6 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals under Zither Demon Jiuyao. Tan Xiu looked at Old Sycamore and said, "Lend me 20 million crystal essences." Within 100 years, they would pay him back double. Old Sycamore hesitated for a moment before saying, "I do have 20 million crystal essences, but why should I believe you?" Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, "I don't have anything to make you believe me. But if you have a good relationship with the little beggar, I think you can lend it to me." Old Sycamore scrutinized Tan Xiu for a long time before throwing out an interspatial ring and indifferently saying, "There are 20 million crystal essences inside. I don't need you to pay me back double, but I hope you can give me an explanation in the future." Chapter 1303. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and nodded. "I promise I'll give you a satisfactory explanation in the future. Also, I, the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, owe you a favor. If you have any requests in the future, you can come to the Great Tang Empire to look for me." Finished. Tan Xiu took out all the immortal stones, crystals, and crystal nuclei, and handed them over to the beautiful woman in charge of the convict arena. Then he said, 6 perfected golden immortals, including Sablefiend Scorpio. According to my calculations, there are 6 million crystal essences in total. Even if we borrow 20 million crystal essences, we are still short by more than 600,000 crystal essences. A strange light flickered in the woman's eyes as she slowly nodded and said, "I'll waive the 600,000 crystal essences for you." Finished. She personally took out 6 soul tablets and handed them to Tan Xiu. Then, she personally opened the 6 iron cages and untied each of the chains that bound the almighty immortals. Sablefiend Scorpio, Celestial Stone Golems, Fire Fiend Lion, Golden-Eyed Great Pung, Lupus Monstrous Wolf, Nether Sea Whale King. From today onwards, the 6 of you are the slaves of this Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. I've already handed over your soul tablets to him. From now on, your lives are in his hands." The beautiful woman coldly glanced at the 6 of them, and said in a deep voice, Each of the 6 deathmatch gladiators who had experienced 300 battles in the prison cage stared at Tan Xiu. Their bodies were filled with a deathly aura, and their eyes were filled with arrogance and defiance. Even if Tan Xiu controlled their lives, they were not worried that Tan Xiu would kill them since he had paid such a high price to buy them. They were afraid that he would only make them serve him. Tan Xiu refined their soul tablets and completely controlled their lives. Then he lightly said, "My orders are more important than anything else in the future. Of course, I don't mind making an example out of you. If any of you want to try, feel free to go against my will. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey?" The expressions of the 6 perfected golden immortal gladiators suddenly changed. The unruly faces changed slightly. None of them wanted to die, nor did they want to become the chicken that was killed. "Old Sycamore, let's go." Tan Xiu nodded at the beautiful woman, and turned to leave. Old Sycamore didn't say anything. He didn't even greet the beautiful woman as he followed Tan Xiu outside. When they arrived at the gate, he asked, "Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, where are we going next?" Tan Xiu's lips moved a few times before Battle Pung handed Tan Xiu 10 immortal crystals. After Tan Xiu received them, he personally handed them to Old Sycamore and said, "This is your reward. I hope we'll meet again in the future." Finished. He led the group into the distance. 10 immortal crystals? Old Sycamore stared blankly at the 10 immortal crystals in his hand. Memories that had been sealed away in the depths of his heart gushed out like a flood. Several thousand years ago, when he was only a child of 8 or 9 years old, he and his younger brother begged on the streets every day, hoping to get some charity and some leftovers to fill their stomachs. They were driven away, beaten, and abused like livestock. Even slave traders were unwilling to capture pitiful ant-like worms like them. However, on a certain day in a certain month of a certain year, the brothers stole 2 bright clothes, but they were discovered by the owner of the clothes and were almost beaten to death. At that moment, he vowed to stay alive and kill the person who beat him up. He wanted to kill the person who had abused them. At that time, he had even made up his mind to find a way to get a sum of money to buy a cultivation technique and become a powerful cultivator. It was also at that moment that a stalwart figure shielded them from the sun. It was his younger brother. He knelt behind the stalwart figure who had saved them and shouted the slogan "Apprentice." In his opinion, it was something he didn't even dare to dream of. In the end, that person stopped and only asked his younger brother a few questions before agreeing to accept him as a disciple. He even wanted to take him and his younger brother away. "How long will we be gone?" He had once asked this question, and the answer he got was, either 1,000 years or an eternity. He didn't leave. He couldn't wait for 1,000 years, and he didn't want to regret it forever. In the end, his younger brother was taken away by that stalwart figure, but he stayed behind. Old Sycamore still clearly remembered that before his younger brother was taken away, that stalwart figure handed him 10 immortal crystals and said something that he would never forget for the rest of his life. "This is a reward for you. I hope we'll meet again in the future." Scenes of the past happened one after another. Dripping with blood, Old Sycamore's heart unraveled. That once incomparably stalwart figure now seemed so familiar and so real. "Are you him?" Old Sycamore took a few steps forward, his face full of excitement as he shouted loudly. However, after he shouted these words, a disappointment that came from the depths of his soul occupied his entire heart, making him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. He knew that he had lost his composure because he was already dead, just like his younger brother. 1,000 meters away, Tanshio's footsteps suddenly stopped. He slowly turned around and looked at the pale-faced Old Sycamore. His lips squirmed a few times, but no words came out of his mouth in the end. Only a voice transmission lingered in Old Sycamore's ears. "I'm sorry." With that said, Tanshio suddenly sped up with everyone and disappeared from Old Sycamore's sight. "I'm sorry?" Old Sycamore's pupils abruptly shrank, his eyes bursting with disbelief. His figure instantly turned hazy and disappeared into thin air under the gazes of countless people. Hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, Old Sycamore had already appeared on top of a mountain peak. Looking at the empty scene around him, his heart fiercely trembled and madly palpitated. As the saying goes, old people become shrewd. He had lived for several thousand years, and was already extremely wise and farsighted. It was just a single sentence of apology, just 3 words, but it shocked him to the point where it was difficult for him to recover. His younger brother was dead, even though he crazily slaughtered and killed all his enemies. But in this world he owed one person a sentence, and that was those 3 words. In this world, only he would say those 3 words to him. Old Sycamore clenched his fists tightly, a crazed look flashing in his eyes as he fiercely roared, "I'll find you. I know you're still alive." This Old Sycamore originally thought that I had no more worries in this life, but now I know that I still have you. That's right. Even though he didn't leave with Tanshio back then, just like his younger brother, he still regarded that imposing figure as a true family member. He was good to his younger brother, which was also good to him. What's more, it was because of those 10 immortal crystals that he was able to buy cultivation manuals, even the most ordinary ones. It was also because of those 10 immortal crystals that he was able to buy medicinal pills, even the lowest grade ones. However, he became stronger and killed all the enemies who had bullied him and his brother. Thousands of years ago, he was able to become an immortal because his younger brother sent him miraculous pills, which eventually allowed him to ascend. Thousands of years ago, he was able to become an earth immortal because his younger brother sent him cultivation resources, which allowed him to successfully break through. Thousands of years ago, it was also his younger brother who sent him immortal elixir and immortal dew, which allowed him to break through to the celestial immortal realm. Thousands of years ago, it was also his younger brother who sent him a large number of miraculous pills, immortal crystals, and crystal essences, which allowed him to continuously improve his cultivation level, allowing him to break through to the profound immortal realm, and then the golden immortal realm. And now, he was already a perfected golden immortal. Even though there were no more than 3 people in the entire immortal world who knew that he had broken through to the perfected golden immortal realm, he had already become a true powerhouse in the eyes of millions of people. Over the past several hundred years, He disappeared and reappeared again and again. And every time he disappeared, it was when the Rosefinch holy sect was besieged by powerful enemies. Every time he disappeared, he would return covered in wounds. No one knew. He was repaying a debt of gratitude. Repaying a debt of gratitude on his own behalf. And also on behalf of his younger brother. Old Sycamore's complexion suddenly changed, as he keenly sensed a few extremely weak fluctuations in the air. A cold glint immediately burst out from his eyes, and a pitch-black gourd appeared in his hand. A berserk aura immediately rushed in the direction of those weak fluctuations. Come out! At the same time, a pitch-black flood crazily rushed out of the black gourd like a surging black river in the void, instantly submerging the weak fluctuations. Have mercy, we're on the same side. 3 figures dressed in black robes appeared out of thin air. They looked at the black flood in horror, and screamed at the top of their lungs. The convict arena's wind listener? It seems you're here to investigate his identity. A cold glint flickered in old Sycamore's eyes. He instantly slashed out with his 7th grade immortal sword. After the 3 people fell into the black flood, they were directly cut into pieces by the immortal sword, and even their immortal souls were directly obliterated. Immediately after, old Sycamore put away the black gourd, and completely erased the traces here before his figure disappeared into thin air. Half a month later, Tan Xiao returned to Agarit Castle with Battle Pung, Star Tears, Dragonfly, and the 6 perfected golden immortals he had just purchased. The current Tan Xiao was penniless and poor to the point that he couldn't even take out a single immortal stone. Whoosh! He sent out a message token. In just half an hour, the old man who sold the information to Tan Xiao appeared in front of Tan Xiao. Did you get the Soul Pursuit token, Senior? The old man looked excited as he looked at Tan Xiao and hurriedly asked. Tan Xiao slowly shook his head and said, I haven't gone to the vast martial sect yet. I went to find some people to help me in order to prevent any mishaps. Let's go. Even if the vast martial sect has a perfected golden immortal ancestor, they won't be able to protect the Soul Pursuit token this time. You can take us to the vast martial sect. The old man looked aghast and hurriedly said, Senior, even if you have a helper and a perfected golden immortal by your side, it's still impossible for you to get the Soul Pursuit token directly. If the other party goes crazy and contacts Battle Soul Supreme through the Soul Pursuit token, we'll all die. Don't worry. Tan Xiao sneered. I won't take the risk if I'm not fully prepared. As long as your information is correct, I'll definitely get the Soul Pursuit token. It's a new month. Please support me with the monthly tickets. Also, in response to the strong request of our brothers and sisters, Silent Night has changed the portrait of Andy on the public account. The new portrait is guaranteed to make our brothers and sisters' blood boil. If you want to see it first, please follow the WeChat public account JYGS00, or directly search for Silent Night Thoughts in the subscription account. Chapter 1304. The old man looked at the 6 unfamiliar faces. He had a vague feeling that these 6 people were probably very strong. At the very least, they were all golden immortal experts. Furthermore, this mysterious man had been preparing for so long before taking action against the vast martial sect. Perhaps, he was really well prepared. I'll go. The old man gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice. Tan Xiao nodded. Under the old man's lead, it took them 2 days to arrive at a small continent in this immortal domain. While looking at the pavilions in the dense mountain forest, Tan Xiao asked, Is this where the vast martial sect is located? That's right. It's here, answered the old man. While speaking, killing intent surged in his eyes. It was obvious that he was full of hatred toward the vast martial sect. Tan Xiao turned to look at Battle Pung and lightly said, You and Dragonfly stay here. I don't need to teach you what to do if something unexpected happens, right? Battle Pung glanced at the old man and nodded. Don't worry. I know what to do. Tan Xiao nodded slightly in response. His eyes then shifted to the 6 perfected golden immortals and indifferently said, I'll give you some hope before you work for me. Serve me for 5,000 years, and I'll give you your freedom as long as you're still alive. I'll welcome you to continue to follow me at that time, but you can leave directly if you don't want to. Further, I'll provide you with all kinds of cultivation resources, and impart all kinds of divine abilities and secret arts to you during the 5,000 years you serve me. The greater your contribution, the more rewards you'll get. Do you understand? Really? The 6 of them looked pleasantly surprised and asked in unison. I, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, will never fulfill my promise. Tanxiu nodded. The 6 of them quickly exchanged glances, and immediately nodded. They knelt on one knee and said in a deep voice, We're willing to serve you. Tanxiu took out 6 shaman artifacts and threw them to them. I don't have any high-grade immortal artifacts to provide you for the time being. Refine these shaman artifacts and use them as your weapons for the time being. Sable-Fiend Scorpio took one of the shaman artifacts and carefully observed it. Then she exclaimed in horror. This is a shaman artifact of the Diablo Precantator clan? Oh my god! At the very least, it was a high-grade wizard artifact used by the Diablo Precantator clan's warrior. This shaman artifact is definitely comparable to a grade 7 immortal artifact. The other 5 people also revealed shocked expressions. All of them were perfected golden immortals, old monsters who had lived for thousands of years, especially Sable-Fiend Scorpio who had lived for tens of thousands of years. She could naturally identify the value of these shaman weapons. Tanxiu said carelessly, I have a lot of magic tools of this level. In fact, there were many sorcerer tools that were even better than these. As long as you are loyal to me wholeheartedly, not only will you become stronger in the future, but you will also possess countless resources. Sable-Fiend Scorpio's group of 6 exchanged glances and said one after another, We pledge our allegiance to him. Tanxiu nodded with satisfaction and turned to look at Star Tears, who had a strange expression on her face. Then he calmly said, What you need to do this time is to help me seize the Soul Pursuit token from the vast martial sect. I'm sure you all know what the Soul Pursuit token is. I also need Battle Soul Supreme to help me with this matter in the future. Therefore, you must directly suppress this perfected golden immortal ancestor of the vast martial sect with thunderous momentum. You must not give him the time and opportunity to use the Soul Pursuit token. Understood. Everyone replied in a deep voice. A quarter of an hour later, Tanxiu looked around. Just as he was about to take out the message token, 3 streaks of light quickly came from the distance and quickly appeared in front of Tanxiu. Tangin, who was shrouded in a black robe, arrived with Zenith Venerable and Siwei Monarch. Then she respectfully reported, We've destroyed all the arrays around the vast martial sect, Grand Master. They won't be able to activate the sect's protective array, even if they notice a powerful enemy coming to attack them. Tanxiu nodded with satisfaction and sneered. 9 perfected golden immortals. If you can't get the vast martial sect's Soul Pursuit token, I'm afraid it'll be the shame of your lives. Let's do it. Understood. The 9 people nodded one after another. Immediately after, their figures moved as fast as meteors and appeared above the vast martial sect in a flash. Immediately after, the 9 of them attacked at the same time and directly knocked out all the vast martial sect's disciples below the golden immortal stage. Even the vast martial sect's golden immortals coughed up blood and looked fearful. Which thief dares to provoke my vast martial sect? 3 figures soared into the sky and instantly appeared in midair. The one in the lead was a white-haired old man in a plain robe. His eyes gleamed with crazy killing intent. However, when he saw the 9 perfected golden immortals around him and sensed the terrifying pressure emanating from them, his pupils suddenly shrunk and a horrified look burst out from his eyes. Suppress them. Tanxiu and Tangin suddenly appeared 10,000 meters away and shouted coldly. In a flash, 9 perfected golden immortals fiercely attacked one after another. Apart from the perfected golden immortal old man, the other 2 late-stage golden immortals, who were only a step away from breaking through to the perfected golden immortal stage, spurted out blood and were bombarded to the ground by Star Tears and Sable-Fiend Scorpio. Although they didn't die, they still fainted. Who the hell are you? What kind of grudge do you have with my vast martial sect that you even sent 9 perfected golden immortals to destroy my sect? The white-haired old man desperately resisted, but he was still seriously injured in an instant. Give up resistance and I can spare the lives of all the people in your vast martial sect, Tanxiu said coldly. Else, I'll exterminate all of you without sparing even the fowls and dogs." The white-haired old man roared angrily, but he still chose to give up resisting the onslaught of the 9 perfected golden immortals. As he was directly imprisoned by star tears, Tanshio floated in front of him and observed him for a while. He then grabbed his collar and quickly entered the tallest building below. "This is your vast martial sect's hall of worship, isn't it?" A smile appeared on the corner of Tanshio's mouth as he lightly asked. The white-haired old man's face was ashen as he nodded. "That's right. Knock out all the golden immortals hiding in the dark," Tanshio said with a smile. Immediately, 4 figures disappeared into thin air. Dozens of muffled groans were heard, and the 4 quickly appeared near Tanshio out of thin air. Tanshio then looked at the old man and smilingly said, "You have treasures, but you don't have the strength to preserve them. It's easy to attract disaster. Am I right?" "That's right," the vast martial sect's ancestor replied in a muffled voice. Tanshio lightly smiled and said, "Since you think what I said makes sense, then take out the soul pursuit token your vast martial sect got. Don't ask me how I know that the soul pursuit token is in your sect. I have my own intelligence channels." The vast martial sect's old man let out a bitter smile and directly took out a black token from his interspatial ring. He handed it to Tanshio and bitterly said, "This is the soul pursuit token." Tanshio took it in his hand and played with it for a while. Then he lightly smiled and said, "That's right. This is indeed the soul pursuit token. I got 2 of them before, but I didn't expect to get the 3rd one. You're good. I can spare the lives of all the disciples of your vast martial sect, since you handed over the soul pursuit token. But you should know what to say and what not to say after we leave, right?" "I know," said the vast martial sect's old ancestor bitterly. Tanshio nodded with satisfaction and said, "Since you know, then I'll cut to the chase. From now on, I owe your vast martial sect a favor, so I'll leave you a communication talisman. In the future, if your vast martial sect encounters a life and death crisis, you can use this communication talisman to notify me, and I'll naturally send someone to rescue you." The vast martial sect's old ancestor stared blankly and incredulously said, "You mean? I hate taking advantage of others for no reason." Tanshio lightly said, "My means may not be honorable this time, but I have to do it for some things. I'll cut off a chance for Battle Soul Supreme to attack you, so I'll leave you a favor. Don't worry. I can help you kill even if the person you're going to deal with is a supremacy stage expert in the future." Having said that, Tanshio nodded to Star Tears. Star Tears undid the seal on the vast martial sect's old ancestor and indifferently said, "My heavenly emperor will fulfill his promise. Do you want the vast martial sect to be annihilated and face endless pursuit, or choose to remain silent and use this favor in the future? The choice is yours." Tanshio took out a healing elixir and gave it to the vast martial sect's old ancestor before he immediately left with the others. "Just like that? They're leaving just like that?" A look of disbelief appeared on the vast martial sect's old ancestor's face. He originally thought that he would die today, but never did he expect that the other party would only ask for the soul pursuit token, and didn't even kill anyone. After a long time, he muttered to himself, "Who the hell are they?" Tanshio didn't immediately contact Battle Soul Supreme after getting the soul pursuit token. He had met Supreme Battle Soul several times in the past. He had even fought alongside Supreme Battle Soul in the Endless Abyss and killed many extraterritorial demons. But speaking of friendship, their friendship wasn't deep, and could only be regarded as friendly as ordinary friends at best. Battle Soul Supreme, when he was at his peak, he was only slightly weaker than him. Therefore, Tanshio decided not to use the soul pursuit token, unless it was absolutely necessary. It would be best to ask Battle Soul Supreme to act during the final decisive battle. "Are we going back now, Grandmaster?" Tangan hurriedly asked after seeing Tanshio and the others return. "Let's go back. There are some things we need to do." Tanshio nodded. Tangan didn't know what Tanshio was talking about, but she still nodded. She had received a message token from Tanshio, asking her to bring Seaway Monarch and Zenith Venerable here. The Misty Spring Ocean was the headquarters of the Great Tang Empire, and only Apotheon Mu and his master, Guyena, were there. You're the guardian elders of the great Tang Empire from now on. Before returning, Tan Xiu solemnly announced to the 6 perfected golden immortals. Chapter 1305. Tan Xiu hurried back to the misty spring ocean, and immediately chose to go into seclusion. He did not go all out to cultivate, but used the 5-colored poisonous mushroom to refine poisonous pills. For a whole month. When Tan Xiu walked out of the meditation cliff with the 10,000 poison pills, he saw Gu Xiaoxue sitting on the edge of the cliff with a haggard face, playing with 2 immortal crystals in her hand. Xiaoxue. Tan Xiu walked over and asked with a smile. You seem to have something on your mind? Gu Xiaoxue floated up and grabbed Tan Xiu's arm intimately. She smiled bitterly and said, Grandmaster, we have no money. We are so poor. In 2 months at most, I'm afraid we won't even be able to pay the military expenses. Tan Xiu was stunned and asked with a puzzled expression. Didn't I leave you a lot of immortal crystals and crystal essences? How did you use it so quickly? Gu Xiaoxue smiled bitterly and said, Most of the immortal crystals and crystal essences were used to buy cultivation resources, and the 400,000 soldiers were also consumed quickly. I also gave those perfected golden immortals 1 million immortal crystals each. Now we only have 6 million immortal crystals, and a few 100,000 crystal essences left. Tan Xiu frowned slightly. He recalled that before he returned from the Mushroom Castle, he had paid the old man 500,000 crystal essences. Then, he had sent people to the Mushroom Castle to pay the remaining 7 million crystal essences, and brought back the rainbow toadstool. Again and again. He spent money like water. In addition, Tan Xiu also clearly remembered one thing. When Apotheon Mu came back from the Immortal Lyceum, he once told him that Apotheosis Bella had given him all the immortal crystals and crystal essences of the Immortal Lyceum, causing the Immortal Lyceum's financial situation to be very tight. Tan Xiu didn't intend to go to the convict arena again, because it hadn't been long since he returned to the immortal dimension. Yet he'd truly appeared in the convict arena too many times. No matter if it was to purchase deathmatch gladiators or carry out grand bets, it would probably draw the attention of the higher-ups of the convict arena. Previously, when he was in another immortal domain after he left the convict arena, he immediately went far away. By the time the other party carried out a secret investigation, he would have already disappeared without a trace. Right now, if he were to go to the convict arena to gamble, it would be very easy for the other party to notice. Back to my old profession. Tan Xiu's eyes flickered. As he sent out a message talisman, it didn't take long for Apotheon Mu to arrive. Tan Xiu didn't wait for him to speak and asked straightforwardly, Is there anyone in the starfield near the misty spring ocean who is rich but not a good person? Apotheon Mu thought for a while and said, I think so. I remember there's a place called Myriad Demon's Nest thousands of kilometers away from the misty spring ocean. The master of the Myriad Devil Nest was the barefooted old devil, a crazy old devil who was cruel and merciless, committing all kinds of crimes. He had even recruited a group of vicious and merciless experts to wreak havoc in that star domain. Many natives had no choice but to flee. Those who couldn't escape were enslaved over there. Tan Xiu asked, You didn't do anything before? Apotheon Mu forced a smile and said, To be honest, I'm not that barefooted old demon's opponent. As a perfected golden immortal, he was very strong, and he had 2 perfected golden immortals under him. He also had dozens of golden immortals. I've been there before, but I was injured and had no choice but to retreat. Tan Xiu narrowed his eyes and sneered. Since he's a devil, I don't have any psychological burden robbing him. Notify everyone that except for Seaway Monarch and Zenith Venerable, you will lead the others to get rid of those devils and bring back their wealth. Apotheon Mu was surprised. Are you really going to lead people to slaughter that place, Master? Tan Xiu nodded and said, We're short on money now. We're severely short on money. Since Myriad Demon's Nest is a sinful place, then we'll kill those devils and take their wealth. In this way, we'll indirectly help the weak to survive. Apotheon Mu smiled. He had followed Tan Xiu for thousands of years, so he naturally knew his master Tan Xiu's nature. Every time they needed a lot of money, his master, Tan Xiu, would use the slogan of helping the weak to slaughter some evil devils and obtain a lot of wealth. I'll go right away. Apotheon Mu replied and quickly left. 10 days later, when Apotheon Mu and the others returned, they brought back a lot of wealth. The number of crystal essences alone was more than 20 million. The number of immortal crystals was more than 400 million. Tan Xiu took out a part of the immortal crystals and crystal essences to reward Apotheon Mu and the others who participated in the operation, and gave the remaining half to Gu Xiaoxue. The sky was clear for thousands of miles. Tan Xiu sat cross-legged on the repose cliff. His eyes seemed to be able to penetrate the endless void and see the scene of countless stars trembling in the distant universe. The planets inside his body roared at the same time. The life force from the Heavenly Path universe tree was continuously injected into the planets, causing them to gradually show signs of life. Boom! He had finally broken through the third stage of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, the soul-smelting stage. This is the feeling of power. Tan Xiu floated up and allowed the endless immortal force from all directions to pour into his body. Then he absorbed and refined it and integrated it into his Dantian space. Before breaking through, although it was difficult for Tan Xiu to kill powerful golden immortals, he could still compete with ordinary golden immortals. But after this breakthrough, his strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Although he still couldn't fight a perfected golden immortal head-on, he could still kill some weaker perfected golden immortals by surprise if he used some Dharma spells and divine abilities. As for golden immortals, Tan Xiu was now confident that he could crush them in all aspects. Tan Xiu stood in the air with his white robe fluttering. After a dozen message sigils were sent out, 12 figures appeared in front of Tan Xiu in just 2 hours. There were a total of 10 perfected golden immortals of the Great Tang Empire, plus Gu Yan'er and Battlepeng. All of them wore respectful expressions and waited for Tan Xiu to speak. It's almost time. Tan Xiu took out a message sigil from his interspatial ring, took a deep breath and said, Yan'er and Battlepeng will stay in the misty spring ocean to ensure the safety of the Great Tang Empire. If a powerful enemy appears while we're away, immediately order the Great Tang Empire's soldiers to evacuate and defend the Repose Cliff. Gu Yan'er was somewhat unwilling, but her cultivation had yet to fully recover. She was still at the Golden Immortal stage, so she could only endure it and nodded. I understand. Tan Xiu nodded and said, We'll be back here in half a year if we're fast, and 10 years if we're slow. The Great Tang Empire doesn't need to expand for the time being. We just need to recruit soldiers and train them in secret. I need an army with at least hundreds of millions of soldiers. Therefore, we still have a long way to go. Don't worry, Master, Gu Yan'er said in a deep voice. Tan Xiu smiled slightly and immediately looked at the 10 perfected golden immortals. He then said in a deep voice, This trip to the Heavenly Mountain is definitely a perilous one. Let me ask you something. Who dares not go? If you tell me now, I'll allow you to stay here and guard the Great Tang Empire. The 10 people looked at each other in dismay, but no one stood up. Very good, Tan Xiu said with satisfaction. You're truly worthy of being chosen by Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. All of you will follow me to the Heavenly Mountain this time to rescue the 4 disciples of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. If you're still alive after rescuing them, I'll give each of you a precious treasure as a reward. Seaway Monarch's expression shifted and he asked, Can you tell us what kind of precious treasure you're going to give us, Master? A long spear appeared in Tan Xiu's hand out of thin air, and he said in a deep voice, It's a Magus artifact that's at least comparable to an 8th grade immortal artifact. You should be well aware that the divine weapon of the Diablo Precantator clan is definitely a treasure for fighting and conquering. Once you get it, your combat prowess will skyrocket. Seaway Monarch looked pleasantly surprised and loudly asked, Why don't you give us a Magus artifact now since we're about to fight a powerful enemy, Master? Having a weapon comparable to an 8th grade immortal artifact will be like adding wings to a tiger for us, and we'll be able to kill more enemies. It'll take a long time to completely refine a high-grade Magus artifact, Tan Xiu said lightly. You won't be able to unleash much of its power when we're in the sky. It's better to continue using your current weapons. Understood. Seaway Monarch and the others understood that Tan Xiu was telling the truth, so they no longer said anything. Tanxiu shook his right wrist and lightly said, "Star Tears, follow me. Everyone else, enter the heavenly abode artifact. This is a very important matter for us. Killing the enemies and saving them is one thing, but we can't expose our identities on the other hand. We need to change our appearance and hide our identities when we act." Quickly, after the 9 perfected golden immortals entered the heavenly abode artifact, Tanxiu looked at Star Tears and lightly said, "You can ask what you want to ask now." "Apotheon Mu is a disciple of my Rosefinch holy sect, but he calls you master," said Star Tears slowly. "I really want to know when he was accepted as a disciple by you other than my nephew. Also, I want to know why you took such a huge risk to save the disciples of my Rosefinch holy sect." "Apotheon Mu was my disciple a long time ago," said Tanxiu indifferently. "You should be well aware that there are too many people in the immortal world who have many masters at the same time. As for why I saved the disciples of your Rosefinch holy sect, it's because of an exchange with Apotheon Mu. I helped him save them, and he gave you the Misty Spring Ocean to become the Great Tang Empire's base camp." "No, that's not right." Star Tears shook her head. "Apotheon Mu's respect for you is very similar to his respect for another person." "Star cultivation, Great Emperor?" asked Tanxiu with a faint smile. Star Tears took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "That's right. He's Star Cultivation Great Emperor, my nephew." Tanxiu thought for a while and said, "If our trip goes smoothly and we can rescue Apotheon Myriad Notes, Soaring Plum, 9 Immortal Fingers, and Enchantress you, and we're still alive, I'll give you an explanation." "It's a deal." Star Tears shot a deep look at Tanxiu and said in a deep voice, "Aside from us, I've also invited some external help to save the people in the Heavenly Mountain," said Tanxiu with a faint smile. "Apotheosis Bella, who has already broken through to the supremacy stage, will also rush there with her people to join us." The return from the immortal world was originally scheduled for last month's grand finale, but it was postponed to the end of this month due to several unfinished plots. Brothers and sisters, please inform each other. Also, the WeChat official account is continuing to release a series of stunning beauties. Today it's about the pair of beautiful sisters, Zhang Xinyue and Zhang Xinya. Brothers and sisters, you can quickly go and have a look. Quiet Night's WeChat official account is JYGS00, or you can directly search for Quiet Night's thoughts in the subscription account. Chapter 1306. There were 13 immortal domains between the Misty Spring Ocean and the Heavenly Mountain Immortal Domain. Star Tears and Tanxiu traveled at full speed, but it took them nearly 3 months to reach the Heavenly Mountain Immortal Domain. The Heavenly Mountain Immortal Domain was located in a desolate place in the immortal world. Except for the 2 cities, Sunset City and Starmoon City, there were no other living beings living here. In the vast Milky Way, there were meteorites floating everywhere. Meteorites often collided with planets and exploded. Heavenly Mountain Immortal Domain. It was enveloped by the mysterious laws of heaven and earth, so it could survive in such a desolate and dangerous place. These 2 continents were where Setting Sun City and Starmoon City were located. Here, there was no lord of the immortal domain. It belonged to the chaotic zone. In order to collect resources from the other immortal domains near the Heavenly Mountain Immortal Domain, many forces had secretly established their forces here. It was complicated and chaotic. Sunset City. In the west, there was a towering mountain that soared into the sky. It was majestic and abnormally steep. Circles of light enveloped the entire mountain, forming a special gravitational space. Here, even a perfected golden immortal could only unleash the strength of an immortal at the Sword Immortal realm. That kind of strong suppression made countless immortals unwilling to come here easily. But now, 16 thick chains made of 10,000-year-old dark steel were chained to 1 person each, trapping 3 men and 1 woman on the cliff halfway up the mountain. A 9 thunder formation enveloped the 4 of them. Every day 9 bolts of lightning would strike the 4 chained people on the cliff. Tao Lord Green Firmament sat cross-legged on a floating futon, drinking the immortal wine in the purple gold gourd in his hand, and looking at the 4 chained people with a faint smile. Tens of thousands of miles away from him, 3 black-robed triplets with long hair were besieged by dozens of his golden immortal subordinates. Stop playing around. Just kill them. Tao Lord Green Firmament burped comfortably. As 2 clouds of alcohol smell came out of his nostrils, he snorted disinterestedly. Immediately, tens of golden immortals tens of thousands of miles away took out their natal immortal weapons and bombarded the triplets. The 3 triplets were all golden immortals. Being bombarded by dozens of powerful enemies, one of them looked desperate and unwillingly roared, "Master, this disciple is incompetent. I can't save you and the other martial uncles. If there is an afterlife, we 3 brothers will be your disciples again." The next moment, the 3 of them revealed determined expressions and self-detonated one after another. The tremendous power of self-detonation exploded among the dozens of gold immortals, sending them flying backward with blood spraying out of their mouths. 4 of them, who were very close to the triplets, were killed by the explosion. Tung Yin Tung Xiang Tung Lo. A pained expression appeared on Charmu's beautiful face, as 2 streams of tears rolled down her cheeks. Although she struggled with all her might, she could not break free from the restraints of the 4 chains. A furious look appeared on Tao Lord Green Firmament's face as he cursed. "What a bunch of fools! You've experienced so many ambushes, yet you still haven't learned your lesson. The self-detonation of those damned bastards isn't something you can avoid with your numbers." After cursing, he turned to look at Apotheon Enchantress Yu, whose face had become a bit distorted. A faint smile appeared on his handsome face again as he said, "Fine. Let them die. We caught these ants hundreds of years ago anyway, so it's not a big deal even if they die. But you, Apotheon Enchantress Yu, you raised your 3 disciples and spared no effort to teach them, making them stronger and stronger. But now you're dead. I really feel sorry for you. Ha ha ha." Apotheon Enchantress Yu glared at Tao Lord Green Firmament and angrily roared, "Green Firmament, I crippled you back then. If it wasn't for your damned master who used a lot of treasures to save you, I'm afraid your corpse would have been used to feed immortal beasts, no?" Tao Lord Green Firmament's face stiffened, and a bit of killing intent immediately appeared on his face. He then fiercely said, "Bitch, if it wasn't for Master who forbade me to kill you, I would have pulled out your tendons, skinned you, and refined you into a slave puppet. Just you wait. I'll use you thoroughly and slaughter all those who want to rescue you. Then I'll personally refine you into a slave puppet and make you suffer the most cruel torture in the endless years to come." Apotheon Enchantress Yu clenched her fists tightly. If her eyes could kill, she would have killed Tao Lord Green Firmament countless times already. Tao Lord Green Firmament proudly snorted twice and immediately threw the purple gold gourd into his interspatial ring. He then clapped his hands and 2 golden immortals appeared. He then said with a smile, "Tell them that I'm going to Sunset City to rest. I'll leave this place to them. Don't look for me unless a powerful enemy comes." "Understood," replied the 2 golden immortals respectfully. Tao Lord Green Firmament looked at Apotheon Enchantress Yu again and grinned. "I'll definitely collect enough auxiliary materials to refine a slave puppet in Sunset City." Having said that, he laughed aloud and flew toward Sunset City. Apotheon Myriad Notes maintained a tranquil expression all along. His deep eyes fell on Apotheon Enchantress Yu, who was 10,000 meters away, and lightly said, "Junior sister Enchantress Yu, since ancient times, evil has never triumphed over good. The Rosefinch holy sect has existed in the immortal world for hundreds of thousands of years, and we can't speculate how deep its heritage is. I firmly believe that the sect's powerhouses will come to rescue us. Once we're free, it'll be the day we slaughter these enemies." Apotheon Enchantress Yu shook her head in pain and didn't speak again. She was already on the verge of despair. It was because in just 100 years, at least 1,000 people had died here, because of the 4 of them acting as bait. And more than half of those people were people they cared about very much. If this situation continued, perhaps it wouldn't take another 100 years for their loved ones to die. Sunset City. Tan Xiao was sitting quietly in a tea house, watching the endless flow of people on the street outside the window. His aura was completely converged, making him look like an ordinary person enjoying the fragrance of fragrant tea. Star Tears, on the other hand, was sitting opposite him, staring blankly at the cup of tea in front of her without moving for a long time. Whoosh, a figure suddenly appeared next to Tan Xiao out of thin air. Seaway Monarch said with a voice transmission. Master, I've just investigated that the one on the heavenly mountain is Myriad Thunder Supreme, Zither Demon Jiu Yao's martial uncle. Also, it's said that there are 12 perfected golden immortals guarding the place, but there are actually only 6. There should be 30 to 40 golden immortals. Also, I just got some good news. Tan Xiao's expression shifted and he asked, What good news? Seaway Monarch replied with a voice transmission. Myriad Thunder Supreme's disciple, Tao Lord Green Firmament, came to Sunset City 2 days ago and has been staying in the Golden Fragrance House, fooling around with the immortal prostitutes there. Tao Lord Green Firmament? A cold light burst out from Tan Xiao's eyes. He had seen Tao Lord Green Firmament before. But at that time, Tao Lord Green Firmament was just a nobody who followed his master, Myriad Thunder Supreme, to his mansion as a guest. He didn't expect that the ant in his eyes had now become a bastard who persecuted his disciple. Get rid of him. Tan Xiao clenched his fists and sent a voice transmission while thinking. After a long while, a strange expression appeared on Seaway Monarch's face. After listening to Tan Xiao's plan, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth and he nodded. I need Zenith Venerable to help me. Tan Xiao nodded and called Zenith Venerable and Sablefiend Scorpio out of the Heavenly Abode artifact. Then he said, You two will obey Seaway Monarch's order for the time being and help me get rid of Tao Lord Green Firmament. I won't give you much time. How about half a month? No problem, Seaway Monarch said with a slight smile. Tan Xiao waved his hand and said, Go. I'll wait for you at the Stargazing River. Subsequently, Tan Xiao left with Star Tears and headed straight for the Stargazing River in the eastern suburbs of Sunset City. When they arrived, Tan Xiao observed the surrounding environment, and then began to carve array patterns, bury the immortal crystals, and set up the 9 consecutive bends array. Afterward, he sat cross-legged with Star Tears and waited quietly. Golden Fragrance Restaurant. Tao Lord Green Firmament was surrounded by a group of immortal prostitutes, enjoying the service of a group of immortal prostitutes. No one noticed that the faintly discernible cold aura was constantly flowing from the group of immortal prostitutes and being quietly absorbed by Tao Lord Green Firmament. It was the Great Yin Demon art. It was a very evil and terrifying cultivation, art created by a certain fiend in the immortal world. It could stealthily steal the Yin essence of the women around him, and then refine and absorb it to increase his own cultivation. Tao Lord Green Firmament appeared to be a righteous immortal on the surface, but he secretly cultivated the Great Yin Demon art, a cultivation art that harmed others to benefit himself. The number of women he had persecuted were countless. Bam! An explosive sound was transmitted to Tao Lord Green Firmament's ears. His cold and gloomy eyes instantly shifted to the source of the sound. He immediately saw the brothel keeper being slapped and sent flying by a burly man in the hall of the pavilion that was filled with a pink aura. The beautiful woman next to the burly man, who looked like a little bird, kicked the brothel keeper's chest and nearly killed her. What a vulgar woman. You're all vulgar women here. Those who are interested in the women here are all blind idiots. Sablefiend Scorpio, who had transformed into a beautiful woman, glanced around contemptuously. Looking at the angry eyes cast at her, she disdainfully said again, My man is a super powerhouse at the perfected golden immortal stage. He's invincible in the immortal world. If you don't have more beautiful immortal prostitutes here, I'll burn this place down. What an arrogant young lady. A gloomy voice came from one of the private rooms as a lean man floated out. His eyes greedily glanced at Sablefiend Scorpio's sensitive spots and grinned. Seaway Monarch raised his brows and indifferently glanced at the man before fiercely slapping him. The Golden Immortal stage expert was directly sent flying by Seaway Monarch's slap. Immediately after, he looked disappointed and shook his head. Let's go. The women here are too lousy. You might as well go to the casino with me and gamble. Sablefiend Scorpio giggled and said, You got so many treasures from the Demon Dragon Cave some time ago, sir. You even got countless crystal essences. Do you still need to gamble? It's really boring to win money from those poor people. Chapter 1307. Demonic Dragon Cave. Everyone in the immortal world knew that it was a treasure trove. Despite knowing that it was fraught with danger, countless experts still rushed forward, risking their lives to search for treasures. According to statistics, there were a total of 72 devil dragon caves in the celestial world. One of them even had a primordial celestial artifact that was a grade higher than a grade 9 celestial artifact. In an instant, all the guests in the Golden Fragrance Pavilion looked at Seaway Monarch with fiery eyes. Among them, the immortal prostitute's eyes were even more fiery, as if they were about to melt Seaway Monarch. Tao Lord Green Firmament pushed away the immortal prostitute in his arms. As his eyes flickered, different thoughts surged in his heart. Looking at Seaway Monarch and Sablefiend Scorpio's departing backs, he took out 100 immortal crystals from his interspatial ring and threw them around like throwing garbage. He ignored the immortal prostitutes who were fighting for the immortal crystals and followed them. The moment he stepped out of the Golden Fragrance Pavilion, a message amulet was sent out. 10,000 meters away, Zenith Venerable quietly leaned against the door of a shop and watched Seaway Monarch and Sablefiend Scorpio leave. Then he saw Tao Lord Green Firmament coming out from the inside and sending out a message token. A sneer appeared on the corner of Zenith Venerable's mouth. Eastern suburbs of Sunset City, Stargazer River. Tan Xiao, who was sitting cross-legged on the riverside, sneered after receiving Zenith Venerable's message token. I originally planned to kill Tao Lord Green Firmament, but I didn't expect him to summon his companions. I hope he can call a few more people, otherwise it will take more effort to save them. Tao Lord Green Firmament is very weak, said Star Tears calmly. He's a bit weaker than me. Getting rid of him is easy, but getting rid of more enemies is something I look forward to even more. Tan Xiao pointed to the full moon celestial river ahead and smilingly said, if the number of perfected golden immortals on the other side is more than 3, the 9-chain Benz array I've personally arranged can only give them some trouble at most, and won't be able to trap them all the time. But if there are only 3 or 2 of them, then they will not be able to return. The 9-chains Benz array is an offensive array, but it seems to have become a trapping array in your words, no? Asked Star Tears. Tan Xiao smiled and said, the formations in the world are ever changing. I once heard a saying, the best defense in the world is offense. Although the 9 consecutive Benz formation was an offensive formation, with some slight modifications, it could cause the formation to stack layer by layer, ultimately forming a trapping state. When attacking, it also has the effect of trapping. Even a great overarching golden immortal would have a headache, right? An extraordinary splendor flashed in Star Tears' eyes. She didn't expect that the great Tang Heavenly Emperor in front of her was even more formidable than her in the field of arrays. Now look. She felt that there were too many mysteries surrounding the young man in front of her. Through the few interactions they had, she realized that she could not see through him at all. In the past, she had met countless outstanding geniuses, and the most outstanding one was even her nephew, Star Cultivation Great Emperor. However, the young man before him seemed to be even more outstanding than his nephew. Where did he come from? Star Tears' eyes flickered with a thoughtful look, but she didn't speak again. Time flew by. Finally, when Seaway Monarch and Sablefiend Scorpio's figures appeared in their line of sight, Tan Xiao and Star Tears directly flashed into a concealment array arranged in advance. Lure him into the full moon Star River. Tan Xiao sent a voice transmission to Seaway Monarch. Seaway Monarch didn't reply, but directly flew to the surface of the 10,000-meter-wide full moon Star River with Sablefiend Scorpio. They stepped on the sparkling surface of the river and slowly came to a stop. What kind of scoundrel are you? How dare you hide your head and tail and follow us all the way? Seaway Monarch deliberately looked angry and shouted while looking around. Were we discovered? Tao Lord Green Firmament looked surprised, but he pondered for a moment and then sent a message token again. After waiting for a few minutes, his figure appeared in the line of sight of Seaway Monarch and Sablefiend Scorpio. Upon seeing their vigilant expressions, Tao Lord Green Firmament laughed aloud and said, I just happened to pass by and didn't expect to run into 2 fellow immortals. It's really fate that brought us together. Seaway Monarch frowned and indifferently said, I'm afraid it's not a coincidence that we met. You must have been following us all the way, right? Ever since we left Sunset City, I vaguely felt that someone was following us. It should be you, right? Dao Lord Green Firmament wanted to stall for time, so he immediately smiled and waved his hand. You misunderstood me, fellow Immortal. I haven't been to Sunset City before, and just passed by this place. However, you two look so vigilant as if everyone is your enemy. That's really surprising. Could it be that you two have done something wrong and have a lot of enemies? What we've done is none of your business, said Seaway Monarch indifferently. Since you said you're just passing by, then please leave quickly. Else, don't blame me for being impolite and beheading you here. The smile on Dao Lord Green Firmament's face gradually disappeared. He shot a deep look at Seaway Monarch and shook his head. You don't seem to be polite at all, do you? I greeted you with a smile, yet you spoke rudely and directly threatened me. I'm not in a good mood right now, so you need to apologize to me. I never apologize to anyone. Seaway Monarch sneered. Get the hell out of here if you know what's good for you, else you'll die today. Dao Lord Green Firmament took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, I've seen countless arrogant people in my life, but none of them are more arrogant than you. Don't blame me for being ruthless if you don't apologize. However, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourselves since you're strangers to me. Tell me, where are you from? How dare you be so arrogant in front of me, Dao Lord Green Firmament? After saying that, he unleashed an immortal sword from his body as if ready to attack at any time. Seaway Monarch's expression slightly changed. He recalled that Tan Xiao had sent him a voice transmission to stall for time and immediately said in a deep voice, Shouldn't you introduce yourself first before inquiring about other people's background? Dao Lord Green Firmament relaxed inwardly. He was really afraid that Seaway Monarch would directly attack him. After all, he could feel that this guy in front of him was not weak and might even be stronger than him. Therefore, he needed to wait for his companions to arrive. After thinking for a while, he said, I've already introduced myself, but you're shallow and didn't hear it. However, it doesn't matter if I tell you again now. I'm Dao Lord Green Firmament, and my master is Myriad Thunder Supreme. Don't tell me you haven't heard of my master's name. Seaway Monarch deliberately showed a shocked expression and hurriedly cupped his fists. I didn't expect you to be Myriad Thunder Supreme's disciple. Who in the entire Heavenly Mountain Immortal domain doesn't know Myriad Thunder Supreme's name? I didn't know Dao Lord Green Firmament's identity just now, so I hope you can forgive me. I'm Sky Hollow Immortal Venerable who recently came to the Heavenly Mountain Immortal domain to explore the Demon Dragon Cave. Dao Lord Green Firmament felt relieved inwardly and a smile climbed up his face again. He then said with a smile, You can't be blamed for not knowing. Sky Hollow Immortal Monarch. You're truly capable to dare to explore the Demon Dragon Cave. You must have had a great harvest there, yes? It's nothing worth mentioning though, said Seaway Monarch with a smile. Dao Lord Green Firmament's expression suddenly shifted, and he immediately flew toward Seaway Monarch and Sable Fiend Scorpio. When he arrived tens of meters away from them, he smilingly said, Sky Hollow Immortal Monarch, you may not know this, but we have a rule here. That is, if there are benefits, everyone will share them. No matter who gains something, they will have to share it with the others. Seaway Monarch's expression changed, and he immediately looked vigilant. Whoosh, a hazy figure flashed from the distance and appeared next to Dao Lord Green Firmament in just a few breaths. He was wearing combat boots, holding a spear, and wearing a blood-colored robe, looking majestic and awe-inspiring. Styx River Venerable? Seaway Monarch's expression changed, and he said in a deep voice. Styx River Venerable raised his brows and looked a bit surprised. I didn't expect it to be Seaway Monarch. I didn't expect to meet again in this Heavenly Mountain Immortal domain after a millennium. It's really fate. Dao Lord Green Firmament stared blankly and asked with a puzzled expression. What did you say his name was, Senior Brother Styx River? Seaway Monarch? He just called himself Sky Hollow Immortal Monarch. Sky Hollow Immortal Monarch? Styx River Venerable wore a strange expression and immediately burst into laughter. He's just teasing you, Junior Brother Green Firmament. He's a dignified Seaway Monarch, a perfected golden immortal. How could he possibly be some sky-hollow immortal monarch? Seaway Monarch narrowed his eyes and glanced at Tao Lord Green Firmament and Styx River Venerable several times. Then he asked with a smile, Tao Lord Green Firmament, you've been following me since I came out of the Golden Fragrance Pavilion. Moreover, you deliberately talked to me because you were waiting for Styx River Venerable to come and join forces to rob my treasure, right? Tao Lord Green Firmament grinned. It's too late now. Senior brother Styx River, this guy got a treasure from the Demon Dragon Cave. We can't waste this God-given opportunity since we've encountered him. Styx River Venerable nodded and smiled. It's indeed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The treasure in the Demon Dragon Cave must be very valuable since Seaway Monarch is satisfied with it. Tao Lord Green Firmament revealed an eager expression and grinned sinisterly. Then let's kill him and snatch him. Seaway Monarch burst into laughter. Tao Lord Green Firmament, did you forget the name I just told you? I'm Sky Hollow Immortal Monarch, and I'm always tricking fools like you. Buzz, an invisible energy surged in the dark. The next moment, Tan Xiao and Star Tears appeared out of thin air and came to Seaway Monarch and Sablefiend Scorpio's side. Tan Xiao grinned and said, I'm a bit disappointed. I thought I could lure a few perfected golden immortals here, but I didn't expect that only Styx River Venerable would come. Tao Lord Green Firmament's expression changed. He never expected that someone would be hiding in a concealment array nearby. This young man seemed to have a very low cultivation level, but the woman beside him had a very powerful aura. She was at least a perfected golden immortal. Could it be, is this a trap? Tao Lord Green Firmament and Styx River Venerable exchanged glances and immediately said in a deep voice, Two perfected golden immortals, do you think you can set a trap for us with your strength? Chapter 1308. Tan Xiao smiled faintly and said, Since we're going to set up a trap for our prey, we naturally need to have an absolute advantage. What are you waiting for, Zenith Venerable? In the distance, a figure exuding a huge aura quickly appeared. A smile hung on Zenith Venerable's face as he said with a clear voice, Master, I've known this Tao Lord Green Firmament for thousands of years, but this is the first time I've seen him have such a big face that he actually needs so many of us to send him on his way. So you know Tao Lord Green Firmament? Tan Xiao smiled. That's right. Not only do I know him, but I also have some grudges with him. Zenith Venerable grinned. This guy is a hypocrite. Thousands of years ago, when he and I were still in the Golden Immortal realm, one of Tao Lord Green Firmament's junior brothers obtained a flowing light immortal shuttle and was killed by him. That's right, he gave me 1,000,000 crystal essences and asked me to help him. Tao Lord Green Firmament's expression turned livid with disbelief in his eyes. He shouted, Zenith Venerable, you're a perfected golden immortal. Yet you actually recognize someone else as your master? Do you have any shame? Shame? Zenith Venerable sneered. Is shame important? Or is your life more important? Tao Lord Green Firmament couldn't help but gasp upon hearing this. He could tell that Zenith Venerable's life was in someone else's hands. If he wanted to live, he could only obey and recognize someone else as his master. However, Zenith Venerable was a perfected golden immortal expert. Who could subdue him? Tan Xiao looked at Tao Lord Green Firmament and Styx River Venerable and said with a faint smile, How do you feel now? Do you think we can kill you? Tao Lord Green Firmament sneered. 3 perfected golden immortals is indeed a lot, but it's just a pipe dream to kill us 2 martial brothers. Tan Xiao smiled faintly and said, We can't, but what if we add some more people? With that said, he directly released the other 6 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals from the heavenly abode, and said with a smile, 10 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals. I think it should be enough to kill the 2 of you in this 9 bends chain formation, right? Tao Lord Green Firmament was dumbfounded. He felt as though he had fallen into an icy cavern as fear occupied his heart. If it was merely 10 golden immortals, then he wouldn't be so afraid. But while he was trapped by the 9 chain bends formation, he noticed to his shock that the transmission talisman was unable to be sent out. And even his life-saving treasure, the Lightstream Immortal Shuttle, was of no use. At the side, Styx River Immortal Venerable also revealed a horrified expression, especially when he heard Tanshio say, 10 perfected golden immortals, which made him scared out of his wits. He could only identify the 9 perfected golden immortals through their auras. His eyes kept wandering between Tanshio and Sablefiend Scorpio before finally locking on Sablefiend Scorpio. Master, how about I kill Styx River Immortal Venerable? Sablefiend Scorpio floated to Tanshio's front and respectfully spoke. Tanshio raised his brows and asked, do you think you can quickly kill him by yourself? I can kill him in half an incense stick worth of time, said Sablefiend Scorpio confidently. Also, this subordinate dares not conceal anything from Master. Styx River Immortal Venerable, and I have a deep enmity. I still hate him even though I made him pay a painful price in the past. If it wasn't for the protection of his master, Myriad Thunder Supreme, I would have killed him long ago, making him unable to reincarnate forever. You have enmity with him? Asked Tanshio in surprise. What happened? He killed my 4 sons and slaughtered my scorpion stronghold, said Sablefiend Scorpio. Styx River Immortal Venerable's pupils shrunk upon hearing Sablefiend Scorpio's words. Horror filled his eyes and he shouted fiercely, You're Sablefiend Scorpio? Damn. You actually became someone else's slave, you poisonous scorpion? Sablefiend Scorpio revealed her true face and coldly said, Styx River Immortal, you can shout all you want now. As long as Master gives the order, I'll definitely kill you and scatter your soul. Styx River Immortal Venerable clenched his fists and was about to speak when his complexion drastically changed all of a sudden. He saw his junior brother, Tao Lord Green Firmament, kneeling in the void. Tao Lord Green Firmament, you coward! Tao Lord Green Firmament ignored Styx River Immortal Venerable and fearfully looked at the 10 perfected golden immortals around him. His eyes finally fell on Tanshio and he begged for mercy. This Master, I Tao Lord Green Firmament, was so muddle-headed to attack your people. Please spare my life and I'll definitely regard you as my master in the future. Also my senior brother. No, there's also Styx River Immortal Venerable. That damned bastard has a deep enmity with your subordinates. I'll help you kill him if you spare my life. Green Firmament, you bastard. Styx River Immortal Venerable glared at him with bloodshot eyes. It was Tao Lord Green Firmament who lured him here. Now that he saw how powerful the enemy was, he actually begged the enemy for mercy like a dog, and even wanted to kill him. He was simply worse than a beast. Tao Lord Green Firmament turned to look at Styx River Immortal Venerable with a hideous grin on his face and said, I don't want to die, senior brother Styx River, so you have to die. Who told you to have a deep enmity with this master's subordinates? Don't worry. As long as this master is willing to spare my life, I'll definitely kill you and scatter your soul. A strange expression appeared on Tanshio's face. He looked at Tao Lord Green Firmament's appearance, and suddenly recalled Zither Demon Juyao. None of them are good people. Tanshio sighed faintly. You're really good, Tao Lord Green Firmament. A wise man submits to circumstances. Surviving is more important than anything else. Since you've chosen to surrender, then place a wisp of your immortal soul in this soul plate. I'll naturally spare your life as long as I can easily control your life and death. After all, it's not that easy to get a perfected golden immortal subordinate. Tao Lord Green Firmament hesitated for a moment before he finally gritted his teeth and released a wisp of his immortal soul into the soul plate. He watched as Tanshio put away the soul plate and refined it. His heart was full of bitterness, for he knew that his life was in the hands of the other party from now on. As long as the other party willed it, he would die without a burial place. But, even so, it was still much better than being annihilated by 10 perfected golden immortals. Sablefiend Scorpio, we're running out of time and can't afford to waste it here. So you guys attack together and kill him as fast as possible. But the rest of you, listen to me. Leave the last blow to Sablefiend Scorpio, and let her destroy his soul. Understood. 11 perfected golden immortals, including Tao Lord Green Firmament, launched a fierce attack on Styx River Immortal Venerable at the same time. In just a few breaths, Styx River Immortal Venerable's immortal body was severely damaged. Although he was not dismembered, the ghastly wound still caused him great damage. Puff! An immortal sword slashed down from the top of Styx River Immortal Venerable's head, and directly cleaved him into two halves while he was resisting the other's attacks. The moment his immortal soul rushed out of his body in an attempt to escape, Sablefiend Scorpio cast a spell and a thunderbolt instantly bombarded his immortal soul. Extinguish! Sablefiend Scorpio fiercely manipulated the immortal sword. The moment the thunderbolt bombarded Styx River Immortal Venerable's immortal soul, the immortal sword swept across the heavily injured immortal soul and directly obliterated it. Tang Xiu didn't expect that this assassination mission would turn out to be so easy. He looked at Tao Lord Green Firmament, who was trembling with fear as he hovered in the air. Tang Xiu took the interspatial ring thrown by Star Tears and stuffed it into his ring without looking at it. Then he calmly said, "I'll give you a chance to live. Immediately send a message to those perfected golden immortals near Heavenly Mountain and tell them to come here. If you can do it, you'll be qualified to follow me in the future." Tao Lord Green Firmament stared blankly and asked with a confused expression, "Who exactly are you, Master?" "Why?" Tan Xiu's expression turned cold and he coldly said, "I naturally won't conceal anything you should know. Don't inquire about things you shouldn't know. I can tell you that I'm the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor of the Great Tang Empire. I'm also the person you'll need to pledge your loyalty to in the future." "Understood." Tao Lord Green Firmament's expression slightly changed. He finally nodded silently and said, "Master, you need to leave the Nine Chains Ben's array if you want to send a message to those perfected golden immortals." Tan Xiu cast a series of seals to open the Nine Chains Ben's array and then said, "You should know what to say and what not to say." "This subordinate understands, Master," replied Tao Lord Green Firmament hurriedly. Soon after, Tao Lord Green Firmament sent out a communication talisman. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Get ready and wait for the prey to arrive. I hope we can get a good harvest this time." Prey? Harvest? Tao Lord Green Firmament faintly realized that the master in front of him didn't seem to have a grudge against them, but rather wanted to kill and rob them. However, this was really a big move. There were only a handful of people in the entire immortal world who dared to do such a thing. Time fleeted by. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. However, the message sent by Tao Lord Green Firmament was like a stone sinking into the sea as there was no response. Sitting cross-legged inside the concealment array, Tan Xiu's eyes flickered as he pondered. Occasionally, he glanced at Tao Lord Green Firmament's face not far away, and found that the latter's eyes kept sweeping in the direction of the heavenly mountain with a perturbed expression. Suddenly, Tan Xiu's expression shifted. Tan Xiu's expression turned complicated when a breathtakingly beautiful woman in a red robe and red boots appeared in his field of vision, along with 4 perfected golden immortals. It had been many years since they last met. Tan Xiu didn't feel any trace of age on Apotheosis Bella. She was still so beautiful, still so peerless in her generation. He wasn't a cold-hearted person. Facing a woman who didn't even care about her reputation, bravely confessed her love to him on any occasion and any place, and did everything for him many times, he still had some tenderness in his heart. However, that tenderness was not the love between a man and a woman. Chapter 1309. Apotheosis Bella, who was treading on the void and quickly moving forward, also saw Tan Xiu appear from the concealment array with a group of powerhouses around him. Apotheosis Bella's eyes swept over Tan Xiu's handsome face, but she didn't stop and looked at the other perfected golden immortals around her. "All of them are strangers?" Apotheosis Bella slightly furrowed her brows. She appeared a kilometer away from Tan Xiu's group with the 4 perfected golden immortals, and immediately halted their pace. Tan Xiu sighed inwardly and said in a deep voice, "Except for Tao Lord Green Firmament, everyone else is to enter the heavenly abode artifact." Understood. Everyone cupped their fists, and then entered the heavenly abode artifact. However, before leaving, Star Tears looked at Apotheosis Bella with a strange expression, and an inexplicable feeling in her heart. Tan Xiu looked at Apotheosis Bella, and casually made a gesture. At the moment when Apotheosis Bella's expression drastically changed, he faintly sighed and said, "You've suffered all these years." Apotheosis Bella's eyes were fixedly staring at Tan Xiu's face. She could easily see the familiar look in his eyes. It was the look she had been longing to see for countless days and nights. "All of you, stay here and wait for me." Apotheosis Bella tilted her head and gave an order. Then she flew toward Tan Xiu. When she came in front of Tan Xiu, she casually laid out a concealment array and pulled Tan Xiu's wrist into the concealment array. "Is it really you?" Apotheosis Bella's lips squirmed and tears welled up in her eyes. Tan Xiu nodded without a word. He could feel Apotheosis Bella's surging emotions. He sighed inwardly again and said bitterly, "Who would have thought that we would meet again under such circumstances and in such a place after the sudden change in the past? Thank you, Bella. I need to apologize to you again." Apotheosis Bella's eyes burst into tears. Although she tried her best to suppress her emotions, she still rushed into Tan Xiu's arms and held him tightly. If she still had doubts before, she was now 100% sure that the person in front of her was Tan Xiu, the man she had loved for thousands of years. His scent. It was still so familiar. "I miss you." Apotheosis Bella's immortal body trembled violently, and her tears quickly wetted Tan Xiu's shoulder. Endless longing turned into yearning tears, as if she wanted to vent all the grievances she had suffered over the years. Tan Xiu's body stiffened, but in the end, he still raised his hand and patted her back to comfort her. After a long while, only then did Apotheosis Bella stop crying. She looked at Tan Xiu's face with teary eyes and carefully held the strange yet familiar face with both hands, murmuring, "I've dreamed of this scene countless times in the past. I've woken up from crying countless times in the past. Xiu, I really missed you." Tan Xiu didn't speak because he didn't know what to say. Although he had learned some things, he understood that Apotheosis Bella had sacrificed too much for him. She risked her life again and again to protect the people he once cared about. Her relatives and friends died in battle again and again for the sake of her true feelings for him. She had faced death countless times, yet she still persisted and persisted. Tan Xiu knew that from now on, there was one more person he cared about in this world, a woman he never wanted to see wronged. After a long time, Apotheosis Bella's cheeks were still covered with tears, but there was a smile on her face as she softly said, "I haven't been able to touch your cheeks since you met her. I haven't been able to be hugged by you since you met her. Do you know? The days when we were born together are the happiest and most cherished days for me." "I'm sorry." Tan Xiu's heart was full of guilt. Apotheosis Bella gently raised her hand to block Tan Xiu's lips. She shook her head and softly said, "Don't say sorry to me. I never want to hear those 3 words again. Xiu, I'm actually very happy now because I know you've been enlightened." "Enlightened? What do you mean?" asked Tan Xiu, confused. "Apotheosis Mu told me before that you have more than one woman now," said Apotheosis Bella with a smile. Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment before an awkward look appeared on his face. He forced a smile and said, "I don't belong to the immortal world. Ever since Great Emperor Danqing, Zither Demon Jiuyao, and her joined hands to persecute me, I've returned to the place where I once belonged. My parents, relatives, and friends are also there. Speaking of which, I should even thank them. If it weren't for them, I would have never been able to remove the demon in my heart." "You turned out to be." Apotheosis Bella was surprised. "A wisp of my soul traveled to the immortal world," said Tan Xiu. "Eventually, I became the young master of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. They are my parents and relatives, but there are also my parents and relatives in the other world." Apotheosis Bella suddenly understood and said, "I don't care who you are. I just need to know that I, Apotheosis Bella, am your woman from now on. I once tried to make you accept me because I was scrupulous about her. She's gone now, but my obsession is still there." "You." Tan Xiu's lips squirmed, but his words were blocked by Apotheosis Bella's hand again. Apotheosis Bella deeply stared at Tan Xiu's eyes and said word by word, "I, Bella, will only recognize one man in my life. I don't care how many women you have. As long as you have me in your heart and love me, that's enough. Unless you want me to live alone until I die, with no one to love and care for me." Tanshio gently grabbed her wrist and said, Bella, why are you doing this? I love you, so I'm willing, said Apotheosis Bella with all seriousness. I'm willing and willing. Tanshio took a deep breath and said, I've wronged you too much. It's all my fault. I'll accept you if you don't mind. All right. Apotheosis Bella wept tears of joy and hugged Tanshio again. Suddenly, Apotheosis Bella's expression slightly changed, and she hurriedly stopped crying. She quickly converged her aura and said in a low voice, I can sense the aura of a powerhouse. It should be a supremacy stage powerhouse. A glint flashed in Tanshio's eyes and he said in a deep voice, If my guess is correct, it should be Myriad Thunder Supreme. Before you came here, I brought people to kill Myriad Thunder Supreme's disciple, Styx River Venerable, and made his disciple, Tao Lord Green Firmament, my slave. I'm afraid Myriad Thunder Supreme came here because his disciple was killed. Apotheosis Bella revealed a trace of killing intent and said in a deep voice, Since he's here, let's keep him here. Quickly change your appearance and aura. Tanshio nodded. I've asked clearly. Myriad Thunder Supreme is the only supremacy in Heavenly Mountain, and there are only 6 perfected golden immortals. One of them is dead, and the other one's life is under my control. The enemies we have to face are only 1 supremacy and 4 perfected golden immortals. Apotheosis Bella suddenly asked, I just noticed that you seem to have a lot of perfected golden immortals around you. Who are they? I bought all of them from the convict arena, said Tanshio. Anti-Star Tears is also among them. However, I didn't tell her my true identity, so I can't tell anyone except for you and Apotheon Mu. Else, we'll have to face endless pursuit once Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Juyao find out about it. Apotheosis Bella nodded and said, Apotheon Mu has already told me about it. Don't worry. No one will learn about it from me. Tanshio nodded and pulled Apotheosis Bella out of the concealment array. They then appeared next to Apotheosis Bella's 4 perfected golden immortal subordinates. What happened, Green Firmament? Your senior brother Mingi's life card is broken, which means that his soul has perished. Give me an explanation. Alone, Myriad Thunder Supreme's eyes flashed as he asked in a deep voice. Tao Lord Green Firmament was panic-stricken, but he didn't dare to tell the truth in the face of his master Myriad Thunder Supreme's inquiry. Although he respected his master Myriad Thunder Supreme, his life was still under Tanshio's control, and he didn't want to die. Therefore, he was willing to act even if his master Myriad Thunder Supreme was killed. Master, senior brother Mingi just encountered a powerful enemy called Sablefiend Scorpio. Her strength is very terrifying and she's just a step away from breaking through to the supremacy stage. Furthermore, she has a very terrifying immortal artifact. When I arrived, senior brother Mingi was already on the verge of death. I didn't even have time to rescue him before Sablefiend Scorpio killed him, said Tao Lord Green Firmament quickly. Sablefiend Scorpio. Myriad Thunder Supreme exuded an intense killing intent. He was well aware of the blood feud between his disciple and Sablefiend Scorpio. If Sablefiend Scorpio hadn't escaped so fast, he would have helped his disciple eliminate this hidden danger. Looking at his pale disciple, Tao Lord Green Firmament, he asked in a deep voice, Where did that damned Sablefiend Scorpio go? Did she just let you go? Master, Sablefiend Scorpio seems to have suffered heavy injuries after killing senior brother. Tao Lord Green Firmament hurriedly replied. I originally wanted to avenge senior brother Mingi, but she didn't bother me at all and directly fled. She was too fast and I couldn't catch up with her. Hence, I sent a message to some of my senior brothers to help me hunt down Sablefiend Scorpio. Is that so? A cold light flashed in Myriad Thunder Supreme's eyes. Immediately after, his big hand slapped toward Tao Lord Green Firmament and sent him flying thousands of miles away. Then he coldly said, You may be my disciple, but you should be well aware of the consequences of deceiving me. Tao Lord Green Firmament flew back and bitterly said, Everything this disciple said is true, Master. I sent a message to my senior brothers that a perfected golden immortal has a precious treasure, and asked them to come and help me snatch it. It's because I was worried that my senior brothers and junior brothers wouldn't come, so I lied when I sent them the message. If you don't believe me, I can take you to chase after Sable Fiend Scorpio. Chase? Myriad Thunder Supreme sneered. It's been such a long time. Where are we going to chase after her? Do you know where she fled to? I know. I secretly put soul-chasing powder on her, said Tao Lord Green Firmament hurriedly. Today's explosion has ended. I'm begging for the minimum monthly vote support. Chapter 1310. Myriad Thunder Supreme didn't notice that Tao Lord Green Firmament was already hovering in the air above the full moon star river after returning from afar. He took a step forward and directly appeared in front of Tao Lord Green Firmament. He grabbed his shoulder and was about to ask Sable Fiend Scorpio's direction of escape. However, at this moment, the surrounding aura suddenly changed and several figures appeared. The moment Myriad Thunder Supreme looked at them, Tao Lord Green Firmament, who was standing next to him, suddenly had a cold glint flash in his eyes. An 8th grade immortal artifact, the Lightstream Shuttle, shot out from his palm and directly penetrated Myriad Thunder Supreme's immortal body. Streams of destructive immortal force gushed into Myriad Thunder Supreme's body. In a split second, Myriad Thunder Supreme screamed miserably and was sent flying into the distance. Shortly after, a rainbow-like swordlight tore through the space and fiercely slashed toward Myriad Thunder Supreme's flying immortal body. The swordlight didn't give Myriad Thunder Supreme any time to dodge as it slashed his immortal body. More than a dozen immortal artifacts followed closely behind the swordlight. Even though Myriad Thunder Supreme's immortal body was cut into 2 pieces and instantly fused back into one, those artifacts still left him with wounds all over his body and blood stained his tattered clothes. Why? Myriad Thunder Supreme was severely injured all of a sudden, and his eyes were filled with resentment. He unleashed 13 black flags and quickly arranged layers of defense around him. His eyes then fell on Tao Lord Green Firmament. With a guilty look on his face, Tao Lord Green Firmament didn't dare to look at Myriad Thunder Supreme's eyes. However, he still spoke bitterly with helplessness. Please forgive this disciple, Master. I had no choice. My life is in the hands of Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. If I hadn't attacked you, I'm afraid I would have been the next one to die. Didn't you painstakingly cultivate us just to make us stronger and live well? You're not far from the end of your lifespan, so it's better to leave the hope of survival to this disciple. Tao Lord Green Firmament's words infuriated Myriad Thunder Supremacy to the point that 2 Buddhas ascended to heaven. Deep regret turned into a sea of bitterness in his heart, making him wish to tear Tao Lord Green Firmament's body into pieces. You deceived your master and destroyed your ancestors. Myriad Thunder Supreme took out a healing elixir from his interspatial ring and swallowed it. Then he looked around with murderous eyes. Soon after, a bitter smile appeared on his face as he loudly said, I didn't expect that you would mobilize such a large force just to kill me. 1 Supremacy Stage Expert and 14 perfected Golden Immortals. Good move, really good move. Standing tens of thousands of meters away and protected by Star Tears and Sable Fiend Scorpio, Tanshio sneered. Myriad Thunder Supreme, is it? We are not interested in you. We are interested in your wealth. Hand over your spatial ring. Hand over all your treasures, and perhaps we can spare your dog life. Otherwise, this day next year will be your death anniversary. Myriad Thunder Supreme seemed to have heard the most incredible thing in the world. While quickly healing himself, he asked in disbelief, You mean, you set up a trap here just to rob me of my wealth? Tanshio rolled his eyes and snorted. Humph, if it wasn't to rob you of your wealth, why would we come looking for you? Do you think we've taken a fancy to you just because you're handsome? Myriad Thunder Supreme's body shivered, and a strange emotion surged inside his heart. For money? Just for the sake of money? These damned bastards are actually trying to kill me? Had it not been for my strength, I would have been killed by their sneak attack just now. Even so, my current injury is still very serious. If I can't leave as soon as possible and find a safe place to heal, it will only lead to my injury getting worse. Did you guys set up an array here? Asked Myriad Thunder Supreme coldly as he looked around. Tanshio gave him a thumbs up and praised. You're worthy to be a Supremacy Stage powerhouse. You can even see the array we set up. That's right, These 18 interlocking arrays are just small arrays that pose no threat to supremacy stage powerhouses. Myriad Thunder Supreme looked at Tan Xiao's malicious expression and nearly gnashed his teeth in anger. He took a deep breath. He knew that even if he wasn't seriously injured, he wouldn't be able to defeat these people. Now that he was seriously injured, he would be the one to die if he were to fight them head-on. Therefore, he coldly stared at Tan Xiao and asked, "You can call the shots here?" Tan Xiao nodded and smilingly said, "That's right. I can call the shots here." Myriad Thunder Supreme took a deep breath, took out the interspatial ring, and threw it to Tan Xiao. He said coldly, "This is my spatial ring. All of my wealth is inside. Can you let me go now?" Tan Xiao took the interspatial ring and found that the mark left by Myriad Thunder Supreme had been erased. He immediately probed the interspatial ring with his spiritual sense. The next moment, his eyes suddenly lit up. It was because the wealth in this interspatial ring was more than all the wealth he had before. Immediately, Tang Xiao put Myriad Thunder Supreme's interspatial ring into his own ring and grinningly said, "I just told you to hand over all your wealth, didn't I? Else, I'll have to exterminate you. That interspatial ring contains all my wealth." Myriad Thunder Supreme angrily shouted, "Are you retarded or what?" Tan Xiao said contemptuously, "What's the point of lying through your teeth? If I'm not mistaken, that set of array flags around you should be a set of top-grade immortal artifacts, right? A defensive 9th-grade immortal artifact is very valuable. Also, hand over all your innate natal artifacts. Dream on." Myriad Thunder Supreme was furious. If it weren't for the supremacy and dozens of perfected golden immortals glaring at him like a tiger watching its prey, he would have slapped that bastard to death. Tan Xiao sneered. "Although there's a lot of wealth in your interspatial ring, since we're planning to rob a supremacy stage powerhouse, we naturally have to implement the 3 lights policy. You don't know what the 3 lights policy means, do you? Let me explain it to you. It's to rob, and rob again. Hurry up and hand over that set of array flags and your innate natal artifact. Else, I'll immediately kill you." Myriad Thunder Supreme coughed up a mouthful of blood again after being angered by Tan Xiao. He angrily shouted, "Do you think I'm a fool? Once I hand over the array flags and my innate natal artifact, I'm afraid you'll immediately attack me." Tan Xiao shook his head and said, "I'm afraid we'll have to pay a heavy price to kill a supremacy. Hence, I won't be stupid enough to lose my people for the sake of wealth. Therefore, I can assure you that I'll spare your life as long as you hand over the array flags and your innate natal artifact. In any case, you don't know who the people who robbed you are." Myriad Thunder Supreme suddenly realized that the appearance of these people in front of him had changed, and even their auras had changed. "Who the hell are you?" asked Myriad Thunder Supreme in a deep voice. Tan Xiao rolled his eyes and snappily said, "It's said that old people become shrewd. Yet why do I feel like you're getting more and more muddle-headed? If we tell you our real identities, you'll probably be killed today, no?" Myriad Thunder Supreme was stunned and immediately scolded himself for being muddle-headed. Then he indifferently said, "I can give you this set of array flags, but my innate natal artifact is out of the question. I'll give it to you now if you want. But if you don't, I'll drag some of you down with me even if I have to die here today." "Deal." Tang Xiao let out a faint smile and nodded happily. Myriad Thunder Supreme put away the array flags and patted Tan Xiao. Then he said in a deep voice, "Remove the array here and let me go." Tan Xiao took the array flags and fiddled with them for a long time. Then he laughed and said, "What the hell are you waiting for? Didn't you hear what I just said? Let him go. Immediately open the array and let him go." Myriad Thunder Supreme secretly heaved a sigh of relief after hearing it. As long as he could survive, he would have a chance for revenge. No matter who these people were, as long as they came to this immortal realms, they would definitely leave behind some clues. When he found them, he would definitely make them pay back 1,000 times over. However, after waiting for a few minutes, he was stunned to find that the supremacy and the dozens of perfected golden immortals didn't move at all. Even the murderous aura they exuded was a bit thicker than before. What the hell is going on? I've already given you what you want. Why haven't you removed the array and let me go? Myriad Thunder Supreme angrily shouted. Apotheosis Bella, who had changed her appearance, looked at Myriad Thunder Supreme as though she was looking at an idiot. She shook her head and sighed. I thought Myriad Thunder Supreme was a wise powerhouse, but I didn't expect him to be an idiot. As a supremacy stage powerhouse, how could I listen to a weakling who hasn't even reached the golden immortal stage? His promise to you is his business. He's not strong enough, so he naturally doesn't want to deal with you. But there are so many of us here, so how can we let you go? Unless you hand over your innate natal artifact. Puff. Myriad Thunder Supreme coughed up a mouthful of blood and crazily coughed up again. At this moment, how could he not realize that the other party was just toying with him? Snatching wealth and not taking his own life. It was simply a bunch of nonsense. Myriad Thunder Supreme's killing intent burst out. His innate natal immortal sword kept hovering around his immortal body as he fiercely shouted. Shameless bastard. You call yourselves powerhouses of the immortal world in vain. You want to kill me today, so I'll drag you to hell with me. Come on, bring it on. Ha ha ha. Tanshio burst into laughter and said, Awesome. Awesome. A dignified supremacy stage powerhouse was actually fooled by a nobody like me. That's really interesting. That's right, I seem to have recorded the whole scene with the nanolite immortal mirror. If I make 10 million copies and sell them, I'm sure I can get a big price now? Just as he roared, his heart suddenly felt as if it had fallen into an ice cave, and an even greater sense of danger arose in his heart. 10 kills. The lupus demon wolf appeared in front of Myriad Thunder Supreme in an instant. Its two long blades formed a scissors battle stance and directly cut off Myriad Thunder Supreme's neck. So easy? Lupus Monstrous Wolf stared blankly at Myriad Thunder Supreme's head that was smashed by Apotheosis Bella's immortal sword. A look of disbelief immediately appeared on its face. Lupus Monstrous Wolf's body suddenly trembled, and its figure suddenly retreated 10,000 meters. It then turned its head to look at Tanshio with lingering fear. He could sense a highly toxic aura coming from it. Therefore, the puzzlement he felt just now was as though the clouds and mist were dispelled in an instant. He finally understood that part of the reason why Myriad Thunder Supreme was beheaded was that he had been poisoned unknowingly. Puff puff puff. An immortal artifact bombarded Myriad Thunder Supreme's broken body. Then, an immortal soul rushed out of the broken body and bombarded the 9 interlocking Benz array lightning fast. The 9 interlocking Benz array was smashed like a broken mirror, but Myriad Thunder Supreme's immortal soul also suffered great damage. While screaming and fleeing to the distance, it was hit by an arrow light and eventually exploded into chaotic energy flows. Tanshio's figure floated and instantly appeared in front of Myriad Thunder Supreme's broken body. He grabbed Myriad Thunder Supreme's innate natal artifact and smilingly said, Who said that supremacy stage powerhouses can't be killed? Myriad Thunder Supreme was Great Emperor Donqing's martial uncle. Yet he still died in our hands. However, this matter must be concealed and no one is allowed to leak out what happened today. Understood. Everyone replied one after another. Tanshio shifted to the grief-stricken Tao Lord Green Firmament and lightly said, Do you feel very sad? After all, Myriad Thunder Supreme is your master. Tao Lord Green Firmament's expression changed, and he hurriedly shook his head. No. Myriad Thunder Supreme deserved to die. Tanshio deliberately showed a satisfied look and nodded. You're very good. A wise man submits to circumstances. You're a genius. Tell me, are there any powerful immortals nearby? If so, we'll go all the way and continue to slaughter and plunder their wealth. Tao Lord Green Firmament hesitated for a moment before he finally gritted his teeth and said, Yes, there are 4 of my senior brothers in the direction of the Heavenly Mountain. They are all perfected golden immortals and dozens of golden immortals. Even if their combined wealth is not as good as my master's. No, even if it's not as good as Myriad Thunder Supreme, I'm afraid it's not much worse. Tanshio's eyes lit up and he grinned. That's great. Let's head straight to the Heavenly Mountain now. We must kill all those people, and then plunder all their wealth. Tao Lord Green Firmament. I'll give you 1/10 of my wealth as a reward as long as our operation goes smoothly. I'll even give you a divine ability secret technique. A terrifying divine ability secret technique that only a supreme being can create. Dao Lord Green Firmament's eyes lit up and he immediately gratefully said, "Thank you, Master. Green Firmament will definitely do his best for you." Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction. He walked to him, patted his shoulder and smilingly said, "Lead the way. The sooner we finish this, the sooner we can go back." At the Heavenly Mountain, Venerable Myriad Notes, Venerable Soaring Plum, Venerable 9 Immortal Fingers, and Venerable Enchantress Yu, who were chained to the mountain cliff, were doing their best to heal their injuries. Although they didn't have any healing pills, with their strength, they could at least heal some of their injuries in half a day. Persevering. They were all persevering. Even if the hope of being rescued in the future was slim, they still didn't want to give up. It was hatred that kept them persevering, hoping that one day they could break free and kill all their enemies. Senior Brother Myriad Notes. Soaring Plum, who had closed his eyes to heal his injuries, suddenly opened them. A bright light flashed in his eyes as he called out. Apotheon Myriad Notes, 9 Immortal Fingers, and Enchantress Yu opened their eyes at the same time and looked at Soaring Plum. "What's the matter, Junior Brother Soaring Plum?" asked Apotheon Myriad Notes. Soaring Plum looked around and said, "Did you notice that the number of people guarding us in the past seems to have decreased a lot?" Apotheon Myriad Notes slightly furrowed his brows and slowly nodded. Ever since Dao Lord Green Firmament left, Styx River Venerable, who was guarding us, also quietly left. Not long ago Myriad Thunder Supreme, who has been staying on the mountain summit, also disappeared. "You're right, Senior Brother." Soaring Plum nodded. "I can sense that there are only 4 perfected golden immortals on the Heavenly Mountain now. There are also dozens of golden immortals. If we can break free from the shackles and sacrifice 2 or 3 of our lives, maybe some of us can escape. Let's not talk about our current serious injuries. There's also a restriction personally cast by Myriad Thunder Supreme." Apotheon Myriad Notes shook his head. "We can't contend with just those 4 perfected golden immortals. If we weren't injured, it wouldn't be a problem for us to join hands and kill all 4 of them. But we can't do it now. Damn it, we're too close to each other, else I'll detonate my immortal soul. I'm absolutely sure that I can blow up the shackles on my body and even blow up one of your shackles." "You're right." Apotheon Myriad Notes nodded. "None of us can withstand your immortal soul detonation given our current injuries." Having said that, Apotheon Myriad Notes' expression suddenly shifted and he hurriedly asked, "Junior Brother Soaring Plum, the restriction on your body?" "That's right." Soaring Plum nodded without a word and said, "I've been drawing thunder and lightning into my body for the past 100 years, and using it to break the restriction on my body. It won't be a problem for me to detonate my immortal soul." A cold light flashed in Apotheon Myriad Notes' eyes and he asked in a deep voice, "Junior Brother Soaring Plum, do you still remember the soul returning slash that Master taught us?" Apotheon Soaring Plum's eyes lit up, and he immediately replied excitedly, "I remember. I've also practiced the soul returning slash divine ability. If those 4 perfected golden immortals are not here, I'm absolutely sure that I can use the soul returning slash to cut off the shackles on your body." Apotheon Myriad Notes pondered for a moment and slowly said, "It's better to fight for your life than to sit still and wait for death. Let's wait for 3 more days. If Myriad Thunder Supreme and the other 2 perfected golden immortals haven't returned within 3 days, you'll risk damaging your immortal soul to cut off your shackles. Remember, if you succeed, you must not lend us a helping hand. You must escape immediately. You must find a way to escape as long as there's a chance." "I can't abandon you and escape alone, Senior Brother Myriad Notes," said Apotheon Soaring Plum hurriedly. "The 4 of us, junior brothers and sisters, will leave together and die together." "What a fool!" Apotheon Myriad Notes said in a deep voice. "You'll be buried with us if you stay. It's better to escape from here, and find a way to come back to save us in the future. You're the smartest one among us, and I believe you can save us in the future." Apotheon Soaring Plum shook his head bitterly and said, "I understand your thoughts, Senior Brother. It's already a good deal for the 4 of us to survive. However, I will still say the same thing. I will never abandon any of you. Once I can really cut off my shackles, I'll cut off the shackles on you first, and then rush into those 4 perfected golden immortals to detonate my immortal soul. If we can survive, it'll be you guys. Suddenly, 4 figures appeared out of thin air. They were the 4 perfected golden immortals guarding them. In the surroundings, tens of golden immortals also appeared one after another. The big ending of the return to the immortal world this month, as well as the subsequent plot of the immortal world, and the introduction of the main characters, will be updated on the official account one after another. Brothers and sisters who haven't followed the official account of Prestige, please use your little finger to follow it. Quiet Night's official WeChat account is JYGS00, or directly search for Quiet Night Thoughts in the subscription account to follow it. Chapter 13:12. In front of the 4 perfected golden immortals, a pitch-black soul stone was torn apart. Under their watchful eyes, it turned into powder and drifted away with the wind. In a flash, the complexions of the 4 perfected golden immortals changed and disbelief appeared on their faces. They clearly knew what the soul stone's shattering meant. Master is dead? A black-robed perfected golden immortal with long blood-colored hair said in disbelief. The lips of the other 3 squirmed, but they didn't know what to say. Who was their master? He was a supreme in the immortal world. In the entire immortal world. How many supremes were there? Perhaps less than 100 of them. But now their master, Myriad Thunder Supreme, had actually died? Apotheon Myriad Notes, Soaring Plum, 9 Immortal Fingers, and Enchantress Yu, who were chained to the cliff, all wore strange expressions. The sudden death of Myriad Thunder Supreme shocked them. Suddenly, 9 Immortal Fingers burst into laughter. Myriad Thunder Supreme is dead? It's good that he's dead. He's so sinful that he's able to live until now is already a blessing from the heavens. Just you wait. Maybe it won't be long before you all die and your souls will scatter. Apotheon Enchantress Yu also looked ecstatic and laughed aloud. That's right, Senior Brother 9 Immortal Fingers is right. Myriad Thunder Supreme is despicable and shameless. It's best for him to have his soul scatter. Die. All of you. The more of you die, the happier I'll be. The blood-colored long-perfected golden immortal's face looked grim. A long whip covered in frost energy appeared in his hand out of thin air, and he fiercely lashed it toward Apotheon Enchantress Yu from a distance of 10,000 meters. Puff, puff, puff. He lashed her dozens of times in a row, each of which caused her skin to break and her flesh to rot. After the dozens of lashes, Apotheon Enchantress Yu's wound was already covered in ice, freezing the overflowing blood. However, this wasn't the biggest damage to Apotheon Enchantress Yu. This long whip was called the Soul Whipping Whip, and its damage to the immortal soul was even more severe. Despite Apotheosis Enchantress Yu's firm will, her immortal body still trembled due to the heart-wrenching pain in her immortal soul. She even bit her red lips. Amidst the endless pain, Apotheon Enchantress Yu's expression was distorted, but she still let out a bitter smile and shouted, "Come on, keep hitting me. Kill me if you have the ability. Otherwise, there will come a day when I will definitely tear you into pieces. I will not destroy your immortal soul. I will torture you day and night until my life comes to an end. You don't need to do it. Me. You don't need to destroy it. How I'll give you a hand." A voice came from afar. By the time the voice faded, the person had already appeared tens of thousands of meters away. Perf. Iman's Immortals of the Perfected Immals, a Dragon Immals, Soul. Demon. I have of Immals of, Dragon Immals I have. Kill. Apotheosis Bella was the fastest and instantly appeared in front of the 4 perfected golden immortals. Her innate immortal weapon was like the Grim Reaper's scythe. Even though she didn't take the initiative to attack the golden immortals, the aftermath of her immortal sword still killed several golden immortals, and severely injured more than a dozen people. Who are you? The red-haired perfected golden immortal's complexion greatly changed and fear filled his eyes. He could sense Apotheosis Bella's aura and immediately turned pale. He roared again. Are you the ones who killed my master? Tan Xiu's figure was as fast as lightning, and appeared in front of the red-haired perfected golden immortal almost in an instant. Although Star Tears and Sablefiend Scorpio were following him, he directly sent a voice transmission to the two women to prevent them from participating in the fight. Don't act recklessly, Your Majesty. Star Tears was very anxious. She didn't have much affection for this great Tang Heavenly Emperor, but he was the one who bought her out of the convict arena and promised to return her freedom after 5,000 years. The most important thing was that after getting along with Tan Xiu, she found that he hated Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Juyao very much. Therefore, she had fantasized countless times that if this great Tang Heavenly Emperor could maintain such an attitude and keep targeting Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Juyao, it would be of great help to the Rosefinch Holy Sect. However, she never expected that Tan Xiu, who had never shown his strength and was at most comparable to an Earth Immortal, would actually fight a perfected Golden Immortal powerhouse. Despite the fact that the opponent was just an early-stage perfected Golden Immortal, the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal's complexion was pale. He looked at Tan Xiu, who was dashing towards him, and a disdainful look flashed in his eyes. Knowing that he couldn't defend this place, he didn't have any fighting spirit at all. Almost at the moment when Tan Xiu came in front of him, he was like a lamb being driven by a whip. He tried to sweep Tan Xiu away, and then escape as fast as possible. Even at this moment, most of his attention was focused on Star Tears and Sablefiend Scorpio, who were 100 meters behind Tan Xiu. Devour! A chilling light flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. A terrifying suction force erupted from his body, causing everyone within a kilometer away from him to tremble uncontrollably. The red-haired perfected Golden Immortal's complexion turned sluggish. He noticed that his body was forcibly moving a little toward Tan Xiu, while the long whip he waved swept past Tan Xiu's side. He immediately felt somewhat humiliated. Get lost. He waved the long whip and lashed it toward Tan Xiu again. Fuse. Tan Xiu instantly transformed into 8 figures, and directly appeared in all directions around the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal. Just as the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal slightly frowned, his body suddenly shook. Just as he wanted to use the soul-whipping whip to whip Tan Xiu away, he was horrified to find that the whip passed through several figures of Tan Xiu without encountering the slightest obstruction. Puff! The red-haired perfected Golden Immortal suddenly lowered his head. When he saw a palm penetrating his left chest and appearing in his line of sight, fear crazily multiplied inside him. Pain! The next moment, he was drowned by a heart-wrenching pain. A crazed look flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. The terrifying devouring aura was like a magnet that controlled the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal's body. Traces of blood energy, immortal force, and spiritual essence were continuously extracted by Tan Xiu. 1 second passed. In just 1 second, Tan Xiu completed the last step of the magical fusion. As the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal struggled desperately, his 8 figures finally fused together. His arm rushed out of the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal's body. His right foot stretched out from the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal's right foot, and his head. It was as if Tan Xiu's whole body drilled out of the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal's body. With a burst of blood mist, the dignified perfected Golden Immortal was directly killed by Tan Xiu. Even his immortal soul was fragmented, and then sucked into Tan Xiu's body by the terrifying devouring power. It turned into energy that was swallowed into the Dantian universe and integrated into the planets. How is this possible? Star Tears' pupils shrank and a look of disbelief burst out from her eyes. Just now, she was full of anger, blaming Tan Xiu for overestimating himself and acting recklessly. He actually wanted to fight a perfected Golden Immortal alone. But now, she was thoroughly shocked by Tan Xiu's means and was shocked to the point that it was hard to recover. In the surroundings, whether it was Apotheosis Bella who was attacking the other perfected Golden Immortals, or the dozen or so perfected Golden Immortals, although they were attacking the enemies, they all diverted a bit of their attention to the battle between Tan Xiu and the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal. However, the battle had ended in an instant, and the outcome had shaken all of their hearts. Sablefiend Scorpio stood hundreds of meters away in the air, and watched helplessly as the red-haired perfected Golden Immortal, was killed by Tan Xiao in an instant. Her mouth gaped open and her eyes stared wide. As if she couldn't believe what she saw, she raised her arm and rubbed her eyes hard. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Master, did he really kill a perfected golden immortal in an instant? Sablefiend Scorpio felt that her worldview had been subverted. It was because an ordinary immortal who had just broken through to the immortal stage had unexpectedly slaughtered a perfected golden immortal with his own hands. Tang Xiao ignored the gazes of the others. Even though his hands were stained with blood, he didn't have any intention to wipe them. He trod on the void and came step by step to the front of Enchantress Yu, who was chained to the cliff. He took out a healing pill from his interspatial ring and directly fed it to her mouth, saying in a deep voice, "Take it and heal yourself." Apotheosis Enchantress Yu stared at Tang Xiao in a daze. She faintly felt that this young man in front of her was very familiar, as though she had seen him somewhere before. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember where she had seen him, nor could she recall any interaction between them before. "Who are you?" Tan Xiao took a deep breath and said, "I'm the one who saved you. Don't worry, I'll never be your enemy." Enchantress Yu was silent for a moment. Then she opened her mouth and took the healing pill. She watched as Tan Xiao cut off the chains that chained her limbs. She gave Tan Xiao a grateful look and said, "Words can't express my gratitude. I, Enchantress Yu, will always remember your life-saving grace." Tan Xiao didn't speak to her again, and instead appeared in front of Apotheon Myriad Notes, Soaring Plum, and 9 immortal fingers lightning fast. He cut off the chains that chained them with his divine sword, and also took out 3 healing pills. After giving them to them, he said, "Don't talk or ask anything. Heal your wounds immediately. Star Tears, Sablefiend Scorpio, you two guard them." Star Tears and Sablefiend Scorpio came to the 4 people and checked their bodies. They quickly removed the seals Myriad Thunder Supreme left in their bodies, and then brought the 4 to the ground to guard them while they healed. At this moment, all the golden immortals had been slaughtered. Apotheosis Bella had beheaded one of the 3 perfected golden immortals, who didn't have the slightest intention to fight, whereas the other 2 were in imminent danger under the siege of the other perfected golden immortals. "Don't waste time and kill them all," shouted Tan Xiao. Today's 3rd chapter is presented to you. Keep asking for guaranteed monthly votes and recommendation votes. Chapter 13:13. Apotheosis Bella shouted, and her figure flickered lightning fast and instantly appeared in front of the remaining 2 perfected golden immortals. Her innate immortal sword kept unleashing sword moves and quickly beheaded them. Embark! A mournful scream came out of Tao Lord Green Firmament's mouth. His facial features began to distort and blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. "I killed your senior brother and master, so I have a blood feud with you." Tan Xiao sneered. "Your life is under my control, so you're like a loyal dog in front of me now. But once I remove my control over you in the future, I'm afraid this blood feud will become the driving force for you to become stronger. You must die in order to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. You treacherous bastard." Tao Lord Green Firmament howled miserably. "Explode." Tan Xiao didn't give him the chance to finish his words and directly controlled his immortal soul to explode and scatter away. Shortly after, he looked at the others and said in a deep voice, "Star Tears and Sablefiend Scorpio stay here. The rest of you, enter the Heavenly Abode artifact." Understood. It was the first time for everyone to witness Tan Xiao's ruthlessness, so their attitude became more respectful than before, and entered the Heavenly Abode artifact. "Xiao." Apotheosis Bella realized that she had said something wrong just as she opened her mouth. She quickly changed the topic and said, "Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, our cooperation is over. I'll leave these 4 people from the Rosefinch Holy Sect to you." Tan Xiao slightly nodded and said, "Apotheosis Bella, I'd like to thank you for your help this time. I won't keep you any longer after their injuries have healed. I'll go to the Immortal Lyceum to express my gratitude again when I have some free time in the future." Apotheosis Bella was reluctant to part with him, but she knew that Tan Xiao's identity couldn't be exposed, so she nodded and said, "I'll be waiting for you in the Immortal Lyceum." Farewell. Having said that, she took her 4 perfected golden immortal subordinates and left at an extremely fast speed. Tan Xiu retracted his gaze and went straight to a boulder not far away, sitting cross-legged and waiting for Apotheon Myriad Notes group to finish healing. Time flew by. 12 hours passed in the blink of an eye. When Apotheon Myriad Notes floated up, the other 3 also moved. They instantly stood side by side with Apotheon Myriad Notes and looked at Tan Xiu, who was sitting cross-legged on a boulder not far away. The 4 of them understood that even if there were Supremes and more than a dozen perfected golden immortals, the real leader was the seemingly weak mysterious young man, who could even kill a perfected golden immortal. Sablefiend Scorpio, you also enter the heavenly abode artifact and leave star tears to protect me. Tan Xiu opened his eyes and calmly said. Sablefiend Scorpio nodded slightly, and her figure turned into a stream of light, and entered the heavenly abode artifact. Star tears? Apotheon Myriad Notes, Soaring Plum, 9 immortal fingers, and Enchantress you turned to look at Star Tears, their eyes sparkling. Star Tears' appearance slightly changed. When she restored her original appearance, she forced a smile at the 4 and said, I've made you suffer for the past 100 years. Martial Ant? Apotheon Myriad Notes group of 4 looked incredulous, followed by ecstasy on their faces. Even Enchantress you shed tears and kowtowed in front of Star Tears. Star Tears helped the 4 of them up inside. You 4 are great, worthy of being disciples of my Rosefinch holy sect, and worthy of being my nephew's good disciples. Apotheon Myriad Notes suppressed his surging emotions and respectfully said, Thank you for coming to save us, Martial Ant. Too many of our people have come here in the past 100 years, but they also lost their lives because of the 4 of us. If it weren't for the fact that we couldn't commit suicide, we would have died long ago. Star Tears faintly sighed and said, You don't need to thank me. The one who really saved you is him, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. In fact, I'm also in deep prison. If it weren't for him buying me out of the convict arena, I'm afraid it wouldn't have taken me long to die in the convict arena. What? The 4 were greatly shaken and their eyes shifted to Tan Xiu at the same time. They then cupped their fists and bowed. Thank you for risking your life to save us, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. Tan Xiu looked at them quietly, countless thoughts churning in his mind. He really wanted to tell the 4 of them his true identity, but he was afraid that if he told them, any of them would be captured in the future and his identity would be exposed, unless they could break through to the supremacy stage. Or he could use the soul seal spell on them. After a long while, Tan Xiu sighed inwardly and said, If you want to thank me, then serve me for 5,000 years. As for the matters of the Rosefinch holy sect, you don't need to worry about it for the time being. The complexion of the 4 changed. Apotheon Myriad Notes took a step forward and cupped his fists. Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, you've saved our lives. We should stay by your side and serve you for 5,000 years since you've asked for it. But my sect is now in a precarious situation, and is in danger. I hope you can forgive us, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. We must return to the Rosefinch holy sect to protect the sect and fight against the enemies. You can still fight the enemies by staying by my side, said Tan Xiu lightly. Don't tell me that the previous battle where Zither Demon Jiuyao's martial uncle, Myriad Thunder Supreme, and 6 enemy perfected golden immortals weren't to help the Rosefinch holy sect? The 4 quickly exchanged glances. Apotheon Myriad Notes then said, You're right. It was indeed to help the Rosefinch holy sect. But we're always restless if we don't return to the sect. I hope you can forgive us, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. Suddenly Star Tears looked at Tan Xiu and said in a deep voice, Your Majesty, if I remember correctly, you promised me that you'll give me an explanation once the 4 of them are rescued. I want to know who you are. Do I really have to know? Tan Xiu forced a smile. That's right, answered Star Tears decisively. Why do you have to do this? Asked Tan Xiu helplessly. You saved my life, so it's naturally not a problem for me to serve you for 5,000 years, said Star Tears. But you must give me an explanation if you want them to be loyal to you. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and then slowly said, Let's go back to the misty spring ocean. I'll tell you my true identity after we return to the misty spring ocean. However, I also need you to promise me a condition." "What condition?" Apotheon Myriad Note's expression shifted and he immediately asked. "You've recovered your ability to move and your injuries have healed a lot," said Tanshio. "But you must not have any contact with your former acquaintances before I tell you my true identity. You must even stay in the Heavenly Abode artifact." This, Apotheon Myriad Note's group of 4 hesitated. Star Tears took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "I promise you on their behalf." Tanshio nodded and said, "Let's enter the Heavenly Abode artifact now. We've just gone through a battle, especially Myriad Thunder Supreme's death. Zither Demon Juyao should have learned about it, so maybe he'll come here soon. That's why we need to leave as soon as possible. We can't use the spatial teleportation array if we want to completely erase our traces," said Star Tears. "At the very least, we can't use the teleportation arrays in the 3 nearby immortal domains anymore." "I understand," said Tanshio with a faint smile. As Star Tears' group of 5 entered the Heavenly Abode artifact, Tanshio called Sablefiend Scorpio out and asked her to fly with him. A year later, Tanshio finally returned to the misty spring ocean. A smile finally appeared on his handsome face when he saw Gu Yan, sitting cross-legged on the edge of the Repose Cliff. "Yan The soft call woke up Gu Yan from her cultivation. In a flash, an excited look appeared on Gu Yan's beautiful face. She flashed to Tanshio lightning fast and plunged into his arms. With a bit of grievance she said, "You're finally back, master. You've been gone for more than a year this time. I missed you and was very worried about you. I don't want to be separated from you again." Tanshio gently patted her back and smilingly said, "Don't worry, Yenthe. If it weren't for my bad luck, there wouldn't be many people in the entire immortal world who could kill me now." Gu Yan nodded vigorously. After releasing Tanshio, she hurriedly asked, Did you rescue the 4 of them?" "I did," answered Tanshio with a faint smile. "That's great," Gu Yan said excitedly. "Can I see them now, master?" Tanshio shifted to Sablefiend Scorpio and lightly said, "Enter the Heavenly Abode artifact first. I'll release you later to let you cultivate and live outside." "Understood." After Sablefiend Scorpio entered the Heavenly Abode artifact, Tanshio called Star Tears, Apotheon Myriad Notes, Soaring Plum, 9 Immortal Fingers, Enchantress Yu, and Apotheon Mu out of the artifact. As he led everyone into the cave residence inside Repose Cliff, his eyes shifted to the scroll painting hanging on the wall. Star Tears' expression moved and she said, "We're back, and we're all waiting for your explanation." Tanshio turned around, and 2 lines of tears rolled down his cheeks. He recalled the time when he saw Star Tears in the convict arena, and her miserable appearance. He also recalled the tragic scene of his 4 disciples being hung on the cliff of the Heavenly Mountain. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he knelt in front of Star Tears, took out her soul tablet from his body, and slowly handed it to her. A look of disbelief appeared on Star Tears' face. She never dreamed that this great Tang Heavenly Emperor, who controlled her life and death, would actually kneel to her. She didn't expect that this mysterious great Tang Heavenly Emperor would return her soul tablet to her. Why? Star Tears didn't take her soul tablet, but stared at Tanshio in a daze and asked. Tanshio's facial muscles moved and slowly adjusted to his former appearance. Then he murmured, "Anti-Star Tears, this Shio is unfilial and made you suffer so many hardships and sufferings. I didn't dare to recognize you so easily in order to hide my identity." Plop Gu Yan, and Apotheon Mu, who stood behind Tanshio, also knelt toward Star Tears. Star Tears looked as though she was struck by lightning. Her whole body swayed a few times and she staggered back a few steps, looking at this familiar face with a dull expression. She didn't realize that her nails had dug deep into her flesh and blood was dripping from her fingers. Chapter 13-14. Tanshio knelt on the ground and looked at Star Tears' incredulous expression. Then he bitterly said, "I'm Shio, your nephew, Anti-Star Tears. I was indeed dead, but now I'm alive again." Star Tears took out a sharp dagger and stabbed it into her thigh under everyone's watchful eyes. Blood flowed and a piercing pain appeared. She pulled out the dagger and couldn't control her immortal force to seal it. She threw herself to Tan Xiao and knelt on the ground. She tightly grabbed Tan Xiao's arms, widened her eyes and asked in a trembling voice, You're really Xiao? Tan Xiao nodded heavily and let his tears fall. Then he said word by word, It was you who tortured me 10,000 years ago and made me lay a solid foundation on the path of cultivation. 9,000 years ago, it was you who took me to the demon realm and fought with the demon clan's experts for 3 years. 8,000 years ago, it was you who went to the Azura realm alone to find the Adumbra flower in order to refine the primordial chaos pill for me. 7,000 years ago, it was you who broke into the desolate secret palace alone to save me, and brought me out after a narrow escape. 6,000 years ago, it was you who personally slaughtered a 5-clawed golden dragon, and extracted its tendon to refine the 7-colored phoenix zither for you. 5,000 years ago, it was you who gave me the 9 revolutions god soul art, which made my spiritual sense soar. 4,000 years ago, it was you who... Enough. Enough. Star Tears hated tears the most in her life, but at this moment, her face was already covered with tears. She completely lost control of her emotions and hugged Tan Xiao in her arms, wailing loudly. Once, she learned that her nephew failed to transcend his tribulation, and his soul was scattered. She was in so much pain that she felt like thousands of ants were gnawing at her heart. She crossed hundreds of immortal domains to rush to the place where her nephew transcended his tribulation. She searched there for 100 years, but she couldn't find her nephew's body. Once she blamed herself countless times for not rushing to protect her nephew when he crossed his tribulation. She didn't even see her nephew for the last time. It had been 700 to 800 years. She lived in pain and self-blame every day, praying countless times that her nephew's soul was not scattered. She prayed that her nephew was still alive in some corner of the world. The dream had come true. Star Tears hugged Tan Xiao's body and cried like a child. Master? Apotheosis myriad notes, soaring plum, 9 immortal fingers, an enchantress, you were completely dumbfounded. They had made countless guesses about Tan Xiao's identity over the past year, and thought of countless possibilities. However, they never dared to dream that their master, Star Cultivation Great Emperor, was actually still alive. Master had passed away. The 4 of them were in great pain. If not for the fact that the Rosefinch Holy Sect was attacked by a powerful enemy, they would have gone into seclusion for thousands of years, guarding the place where they had spent time with their master. Now, Master had actually come back to life and appeared in front of them again. He had even risked his life to rescue the 4 of them from Heaven Mountain. No wonder. It was no wonder that someone was willing to take the risk of becoming enemies with a supreme being and rescue the 4 of them from the sky. This person was Master. Plop. The 4 of them knelt behind Tan Xiao and cried like children. After a long time, Tan Xiao released Star Tears' arm and reached out to pull her up from the ground. He then turned around and pulled Apotheosis Myriad Notes, and the other 3 up one by one. Looking at these disciples he had raised and trained, Tan Xiao patted Apotheosis Myriad Notes' shoulder and bitterly said, "It's been hard on you all these years." "It's not hard on us, Master." Apotheosis Myriad Notes shook his head desperately. Tan Xiao took a deep breath and turned to look at Star Tears. Then he said, "Anti-Star Tears, please take the soul plate. But I must cast the soul seal curse on you." "The soul seal curse?" Star Tears pondered for a moment and immediately understood Tan Xiao's thoughts. She directly relaxed her mind and said in a deep voice, "Even if you didn't mention it, I would have told you sooner or later. The news that you're still alive must be concealed. It's because of my insistence that you had to reveal your identity. That's why I cast the soul seal curse on us. Once any of us is captured in the future and the other party wants to read our memories through soul search, it will trigger the soul seal curse and directly erase all our memories." Apotheosis Myriad Notes also firmly nodded and said, "You're right, Master. We haven't broken through to the supremacy stage yet, so we'll still be threatened by soul search. Only by casting the soul seal curse on us will your identity not be exposed in the future." "That's right. Come on, Master." Apotheon Soaring Plum and the other 2 also spoke. Tan Xiu took a deep breath. Not only did he cast the Soul Seal Curse on Star Tears and Apotheosis Myriad Notes, but he also asked Tan Xiu to cast the curse on Apotheon Mu and Guyan. After finishing, Tan Xiu said, "Anti-Star Tears, I actually succeeded in crossing the tribulation back then. He told the truth from beginning to end and finally said, I just didn't expect that the two brothers I once trusted the most would actually harbor evil intentions. They even wanted to cut the weeds and uproot the entire Rosefinch holy sect. Now that I've come back alive, it'll be their doomsday in the future. In the coming days, I need you to stay by my side and help me raise a huge army of immortals, as well as countless outstanding experts. I'll do everything I can to get cultivation resources and restore my strength to the supremacy stage." Star Tears said resolutely, "This isn't just about you. It's the common goal of all of us. Xiu, you'll be the great emperor of the great Tang Empire in the future, and we'll all be your subjects. I firmly believe that the great Tang Empire will continue to grow under your leadership and continue to produce peerless geniuses and true powerhouses. When the time comes, we'll attack the enemy's lair and exterminate them all." Time flew by, and the years passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, it had been 10 years since Tang Xiu returned to the immortal world. During these 10 years, apart from running around everywhere in the beginning, he spent most of his time in the misty spring ocean, desperately cultivating and constantly changing the situation in the misty spring ocean. Now, the entire misty spring ocean had become an iron bucket under Tan Xiu's management. The starfield didn't occupy a very large area, but he had formed a huge army. The Dragon Army had 500,000 people. The Tiger Army had 500,000 people. The Phoenix Army had 500,000 people. The Martial Army had 500,000 people. The four major armies had a total of 2 million soldiers. Although most of them were children who had been trained since childhood, they had achieved initial results after 10 years of training. In the past decade, the four corps commanders, Tang Guang and Mo Ao, Hao Lei and Chen Xiaohua, had constantly led teams to sweep through the surrounding star fields to temper themselves in life-and-death battles. Hence, their combat experience was very rich. Repose Cliff. Tan Xiu stood on the edge of the cliff and looked at the 4 rows of generals of the great Tang Empire in front of him. Then he said in a deep voice, "Start the expansion plan." Understood. Hundreds of generals of the 4 major armies in battle robes knelt on one knee and shouted loudly. After a while, after they left, Gu Yan'er appeared next to Tan Xiu. With a smile on her beautiful face, she said, "Master, I just received news that Jin Shi and the members of the Shadow Division found the secret palace of Drunken Immortal Supreme in the Immortal Dongting domain. There are about 3 years left before the opening of that secret palace. Experts from dozens of immortal domains are now rushing to the Immortal Dongting domain. Should we join them?" Immortal Dongting domain? Drunken Immortal Supreme? A surprised look appeared on Tan Xiu's handsome face. He said, 80,000 years ago, Drunken Immortal Supreme was extremely tyrannical and had few opponents in the entire immortal world. Rumor has it that when he ascended to the god's realm, he left a message saying that he left his inheritance in the immortal world. I didn't expect that it would be discovered now, and it's even in the Immortal Dongting domain. Gu Yan'er sighed. For hundreds of thousands of years, the number of powerhouses who ascended to the god's realm in the entire immortal world is definitely no more than 100, and Drunken Immortal Supreme is also one of the most outstanding ones among them. The secret palace he left behind will definitely drive countless powerhouses in the immortal world crazy. If I remember correctly, according to historical records, Drunken Immortal Supreme said that the secret palace he left behind doesn't allow powerhouses at the supremacy stage to enter, said Tan Xiu. Only perfected golden immortals can enter and obtain his inheritance. Moreover, the higher one's cultivation is, the more dangerous it is inside the secret palace. I think it's very suitable for us, said Gu Yan'er with a smile. Tan Xiu nodded. After thinking for a moment, he said, since it's a huge opportunity, we naturally have to go there. I don't have much interest in the inheritance left by Drunken Immortal Supreme, but the countless immortal treasures he left behind are what we need. You must know that the richest immortal 80,000 years ago was none other than drunken Immortal Supreme. There are only about 3 years left before the secret palace opens, said Guyener. I'm afraid it will take us nearly 2 years to get there from here. If we encounter some troubles and delays on the way, I'm afraid it will take even longer. Yener, I want you to stay here and guard the great Tang Empire for me, said Tanxiu. I don't want to stay, master. Guyener forced a smile. Just let Auntie Star Tears help you manage the great Tang Empire. Auntie Star Tears' character is not suitable. Tanxiu shook his head. But Guyener's lips squirmed and she wanted to say something. Tanxiu raised his hand to interrupt her and said seriously, I understand your thoughts, Yen. But those who can make me feel at ease are either too weak in cultivation, or not good at controlling the entire great Tang Empire. Only if you stay here can I fight for the opportunity with peace of mind. Promise me, Yener. Tanxiu hugged Guyen, and whispered in her ear. Yener, I'm afraid the secret palace left by drunken Immortal Supreme is full of dangers. I don't want any accidents to happen to you after I get you back. Only by staying here can I feel at ease. I believe you are well aware of your master's ability. If I don't have any burdens, the chances of getting the treasures in the secret palace will be greatly increased. Just wait for me to come back. Although Guyen was full of unwillingness, she couldn't say anything when Tanxiu took the initiative to hug her. She could only nod silently and said, Master, you must take care of yourself. Even if you get nothing, you must return safely. Chapter 13-15. The Great Tang Empire was recruiting soldiers and training millions of cultivators, so the resources needed were absolutely astronomical. However, the resources obtained from slaughtering myriad Thunder Supreme, 6 perfected Golden Immortals, and dozens of Golden Immortals might have solved the Great Tang Empire's urgent need, but it was still far from enough in the long run. Tanxiu didn't bring too many people with him when he left the misty spring ocean. Only Star Tears and Sablefiend Scorpio followed him. Apart from the top brass of the Great Tang Empire who knew about his departure, he told everyone else that he was in secluded cultivation. Renault City, Immortal Lyceum. After landing outside the city, Tanxiu looked at the hundreds of heavily armed immortal soldiers on both sides of the city gate, who were coldly interrogating every member who entered the city. A thoughtful look appeared in his eyes. Past Jade Slip. When Tanxiu followed the stream of people and came to the city gate, a soldier frowned and looked at him coldly, his eyes lingering on Tanxiu. Tanxiu took out the past Jade Slip and handed it to him. Where did you get it from? The soldier glanced at the past Jade Slip and asked with a slight frown. Misty Spring Ocean, answered Tanxiu. A glint flashed in the soldier's eyes and he lightly asked, Are you from the Great Tang Empire? That's right, replied Tanxiu with a smile. Remember, you're not allowed to stir up trouble in Renault City, nor are you allowed to fight with others. If you encounter an enemy, you can either leave Renault City to settle your grievances, or go straight to the convict arena to fight. Anyone who violates the rules will be arrested and executed by the immortal army guarding the city. I've been to Renault City before, asked Tanxiu. There were no such rules here before, right? The soldier snorted coldly. The rules of Renault City were set more than a year ago, and every city in the Immortal Lyceum has the same rules. If you think the rules are unreasonable, you don't have to enter. It seems so. Bella has already started to clean up the outsiders in the Immortal Lyceum's sphere of influence. With her order, the Great Tang Empire's army will soon occupy a lot of the Immortal Lyceum's territory. After the Great Tang Empire takes over the entire Immortal Lyceum, the hundreds of thousands of Immortal Lyceum soldiers will also become the Great Tang Empire's army. Within 10 years, the territory occupied by the Great Tang Empire would probably be twice as large as the current Immortal Lyceum. The overall military strength will also multiply. Tanxiu took his travel Jade Slip and followed the crowd into the city. He could not help but smile bitterly. The larger the territory the Great Tang Empire occupies, the larger the size of its army, and the more resources it will need in the future. In the next 10 years, the Great Tang Empire won't be short of resources. But if we don't have a large amount of resources in the next 10 years, I'm afraid that we won't be able to make ends meet. After a long time, only then did Tan Xiu dispel the various thoughts in his heart. His gaze swept across the bustling streets of the city. This time, he came out with Star Tears and Sable-Fiend Scorpio without bringing any immortal stones, immortal crystals, or crystal essences. He handed over a large amount of wealth he seized from Myriad Thunder Supreme, and the others to Gu Xiaoxue. However, some of the immortal treasures obtained by Myriad Thunder Supreme, and the 6 perfected golden immortals were brought out by him. He planned to sell them through the immortal world's black market. After all, he couldn't let anyone know that it was the Great Tang Empire's people who killed Myriad Thunder Supreme and saved Apotheon Myriad Notes. The things he obtained from them couldn't be sold openly either. Otherwise, Zither Demon Jiuyao's people would notice it and investigate the Great Tang Empire through the clues. It would definitely cause trouble, and it might even attract Zither Demon Jiuyao's attention. In a remote corner in the northwest of the city, Tan Xiu rode a cloud-treading beast and followed behind several other cloud-treading beasts. On the back of these cloud-treading beasts were several men and women who had changed their appearance and figure. How long will it take? A thin man with braided hair and a dark blue flower pattern engraved on his forehead looked at the young man who was in charge of leading the way and asked. The young man smiled and said, "Don't worry, everyone. We'll arrive at the Eventide Market in at most half an incense stick of time. Once we get there, you'll be satisfied whether you want to buy or sell immortal treasures." The scale of each city's Eventide Market varies according to the size of the city, said Tang Xiu all of a sudden. Although Renault City is a large city in the Immortal Lyceum, it can only be regarded as a medium-sized city in the entire immortal world. Could it be that the scale of the Eventide Market here is even larger than the Eventide Market in some large cities? The young man turned his head and looked at Tan Xiu a few times. Then he smiled and said, "Fellow Immortal, you should rarely travel around the Immortal Lyceum, right?" "That's right," Tan Xiu said. "I've only been here once, and I was just passing by." The young man smiled and said, "That's right. There are a total of 3 cities with Eventide Market in the entire Immortal Lyceum, and Renault City's Eventide Market is the largest among them. If you know about the Immortal Lyceum Immortal Domain, or the 3 surrounding immortal domains, you will know that Renault City's Dark Night Market is ranked in the top 3 among the 4 immortal domains." Tang Xiu slightly furrowed his brows. The young man's words made him change his view of Renault City. However, he was also keenly aware that the gazes of the few people around him had turned a bit malicious as they looked at him. This guy is harboring evil intentions. Tan Xiu was a meticulous person. He instantly realized that the young man wasn't a good person. Killing intent immediately rose in his heart. However, the young man didn't attack him, so he didn't want to make the first move. He secretly calculated that he could intercept and kill the young man when he found a hidden place. Eventide Market. It was located in the northwest corner of Renault City. The area it occupied was less than 1/10 of Renault City, but the area it covered was at least hundreds of thousands of square kilometers. There were countless oddly shaped buildings with millions of shops scattered around. Seeking Cauldron Pavilion. Tan Xiu's destination this time was also a very familiar black market branch. The Ascending Cauldron Pavilion was established tens of thousands of years ago by the Heaven Cauldron Oldman, and its branches could be found in every corner of the immortal world. The Ascending Cauldron Pavilion had a shop in almost every city with a black market. Compared to those black-hearted black market merchants, the Ascending Cauldron Pavilion won the praise of many people, be it in terms of reputation or price. A glint flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes the moment he stepped into the Ascending Cauldron Pavilion's door. He was keenly aware that the young man who acted as a guide had appeared in the street corner 10,000 meters away. There were also 2 thievish-looking young men beside him. "I don't mind sending you to hell if you're courting death." Tan Xiu sneered inwardly. After stepping into the Ascending Cauldron Pavilion's door, he saw a beautiful woman greeting him. She was just an ordinary cultivator with a nascent soul stage cultivation, but her every frown and smile carried a magical charm, indicating that she also cultivated the art of bewitchment. "Welcome, honored guest." The woman came to Tang Xiu's front with a smile on her face. Put away your bewitchment art because it's useless in front of me, said Tanxiu lightly. Take me to the place where you buy immortal treasures. I have something to sell. The woman's expression slightly changed and her expression immediately turned respectful. After putting away her bewitchment art, she obediently led Tanxiu to a secret chamber where they bought immortal treasures. Welcome. In the secret chamber, there was an old man in a gray robe with messy long hair. His originally sleepy appearance suddenly changed, and a smile appeared on his old face. Tanxiu was shocked inwardly because he had seen this old man before. More than 4,000 years ago, he was in another city, in another ascending cauldron pavilion branch. Tanxiu still clearly remembered that he was once received by this old man as a perfected golden immortal, and the old man was already a perfected golden immortal at that time. Now that 4,000 years had passed, to what extent had his cultivation broken through? Had he broken through to the supremacy stage? Greetings, fellow immortal. Tanxiu slightly nodded. Are you going to sell your immortal treasures, little friend? Don't worry. My ascending cauldron pavilion has always been fair, and you don't need to worry about confidentiality. We never ask about the origin of any immortal treasure we buy, or how the seller got it. We only accept the treasure and pay the bill to complete the transaction. It's because of my trust in the Ascending Cauldron Pavilion that I directly entered your Ascending Cauldron Pavilion's door after coming to the Eventide Market. Tanxiu smiled. With that said, after seeing the guide woman leave and close the door of the secret chamber from the outside, he took out an interspatial ring and lightly smiled. There are a total of 172 immortal treasures inside. Fellow immortal, please appraise them and quote a price. If it's really as you said and the price is fair, we can directly trade. The old man nodded with a smile and took the interspatial ring. After sweeping it with his spiritual sense, his expression suddenly changed. He looked up at Tanxiu deeply and then fell silent. Half an hour later, the old man raised his head again and looked at Tanxiu with a faint smile. 172 immortal treasures with a total value of 28 million crystal essences. This is the highest price our Ascending Cauldron Pavilion can offer. If little friend agrees, we can trade now. If little friend thinks the price is too low, you can try elsewhere, Tanxiu said with a smile. The price is indeed fair. Let's trade. The old man smiled. After taking out the 172 immortal treasures from the interspatial ring Tanxiu gave him, he put 28 million crystal essences into it, and handed it to Tanxiu with a smile. Little friend, you're very straightforward. I like guests like you who don't bargain. If little friend has anything to sell in the future, you can come to my Ascending Cauldron Pavilion. The price is definitely higher than other places in the Eventide Market, Tanxiu said with a smile. That's for sure. Having said that, Tanxiu directly bade farewell. When he stepped out of the Ascending Cauldron Pavilion, he found that the three sneaky figures were still there in the street corner 10,000 meters away. And when they saw him, they all showed a ruthless look. Suddenly, Tanxiu's expression changed. He keenly sensed that there were two teams of immortal soldiers in battle robes tens of thousands of meters away, chasing four immortals like a torrent. Two of the immortals were covered with scars and looked particularly miserable. The other two immortals were also slightly injured. Sorry I got drunk yesterday. I'll definitely make up for it today. I sincerely ask brothers and sisters to support me with your monthly votes and recommendation votes. Also, the return of the immortal world is coming to an end, but the story won't completely end like this. The Silent Night Society will continue to bring happiness to everyone in the form of a side story, but it's up to you to decide what side story to write. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.